Oh, hello world. I'm your host, Data Mining Mike, and on this episode of the podcast, we're going to talk about how much does it cost to mail an advertisement. My guest today is Geremy Kniffin. He is a paper mail distribution marketing campaign expert with the Y Shopper here in Spokane, Washington. Today he answers the question, how much does it cost to mail an advertisement? The Y Shopper is a coupon booklet that comes in the mail throughout Spokane. I am highly confident at the end of this period of instruction you will be able to take what you've learned and apply it to your brand or business, and that's called value. And because of that, you should like this video. Remember that sharing is caring, subscribing is what winners do, but smashing the bell is what legends do. This channel breeds legends. But first, AI news. Google researchers are working on a large language model that can identify when the probability of solving a problem is limited and therefore must learn to ask for help. This brick in the road of self-reflection will help machines reason better when faced with multiple problems. For example, tell a bot to pick up a bowl off the counter. When met with multiple bowls, the bot should prompt the user for help. That's better than a robot's carelessly grabbing any bowl off a counter.
Then just, kind of drive the thing for bits.
And we are good. Tell the world about you.
Well, my name's Geremy. I sell direct mail advertising. Do what I can within the community, whether it's paid or unpaid, just to help people succeed, I guess, because there's a lot of businesses out there that just need help getting going, whether it be advertising or just, connections. So, yeah.
Yeah, how long have you been doing this?
Going on 4 years. I'm entering my 4th year now.
How did you get started?
Well, the long of it is I used to be a trailer mechanic, worked at a place called Western Trailers, and what I on my wife's mother would babysit our kids, and oftentimes on the way to pick up my oldest, I started praying about having a job that was a little bit less labor intensive, and we had talked about wanting to be able to move to Spokane where most of our family is. And then out of the blue, my uncle, who I hadn't even met yet, he came over, he and my aunt, and they talked to me about coming over and doing this Y Shopper stuff, which at the time I'm like, okay, but I figured it was an answer to prayer. So I took a shot and just purely walked in faith about the whole thing, and through a lot of trial and error, here we are.
Yeah. I learned about Liberty Foe in this. Turned me on.
Oh, Faux Liberty?
Yeah.
Dude, they have
some.
some.
Check that out.
I would. So, back in the day when I used to wrestle in high school, so before weigh-ins, we would go to this place that was called Vienna Deli. I went to Lincoln High School in Tacoma, and then we would go there. Their little sub sandwiches were like $1.50, maybe $3. It's pretty affordable for a high schooler with no money. Mm-hmm. And so we would get a sub. So after weigh-ins, we'd have something to eat.
Yeah.
They were the best ever. That Faux Liberty, right up there with that. When I had that nostalgia was right there.
Yeah, now that you turned me on to it, I didn't know they were even here. So now I'm going to check them out because I love pho.
I mean, they're right down the road, and the pho is amazing.
Yeah. So talk about a day in the life of Geremy with the Y Shopper.
So a day in the life of...
maybe a week in the life.
A week in the life? Yeah, that might be a little bit more accurate because every day is a little bit different. Yeah. Working roughly is, like an independent contractor. You wake up out of bed. You try to figure out, okay, what am I going to do for the day? But a typical day for me would be I sit down at the computer, go over the CRM, see who I'm talking to, see who I need to follow up with. Lately, a lot of people may be familiar with me putting out posts out there, mostly trying to find a niche there. But what I really like talking about, and that's why I like your name, the Data Mine Mike, is I like data. I like going over numbers and things like that. So part of my day will be figuring out throughout the day, almost incessantly thinking about it, okay, what should I post? What should I do today? So figuring out a Facebook post, then posting a Facebook post. And then what I do after that is figure out emails, figure out calling people, people I need to follow up with, people who I've never met before, cold calls, warm calls, then driving around talking to businesses, going, dropping off a book, some information, because a lot of it is just introduction to education. And that's the thing that I think most businesses forget is for everyone that you think knows you, there's a lot of people who don't. Even if it shows up in their house, how many people look at it, it varies. So we still find it. You go to businesses and they're like, oh, I didn't know about this. Well, now you do. And I'm happy, happy to introduce myself. So, and then a typical week is just juggling all those things, because like a business, even though working as an independent contractor, independent sales, you're essentially your own business unto yourself. It's almost like a franchise. So there's things that come up, customers that you have that you got to figure out their ad proofs, things like that. And and part of my day is also figuring out like the concept for an ad. So we have a few people who do our graphics, but before I send it off, it's almost like figuring out a storyboard. Like if you're doing a movie or a video game, it's like I got to come up with a concept, a blueprint, a foundation for what I want it to look like, send it off, get like a rough draft, and then figure out where to go from there.
Yeah. What if you made it like a comic book?
So a comic book could be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
like comic book font and everything. And there's like a main character of the story, and they go through and they see like, oh, there's foe. Oh, there's this.
There was a place back home who kind of did that. It was kind of like a Nickel Nick, and they had like a little Nickel Nick character, I think, and he'd be on things like that. I don't know. You could do it like that. I don't know. In my mind, I'm thinking like DC, Marvel, and have like competing businesses on a panel. You have an
Real good.
I mean,
competing businesses.
I mean that in my mind.
Animated competing businesses.
I mean, I would do that, not if they paid for it, but if they gave me the permission to do it for like free, be like, hey man, we're gonna set it up. It's gonna be kind of cool. Trust me, the main thing will be on different pages. But yeah, I think it would look cool.
I think it'd be really cool.
Heck
I
yeah.
think it'd be really cool to try. I'd be willing to help you with that, with the store or whatever I could help with.
Yeah.
Like I could see it like there's some, yeah, that is cool. So like, let's say if you got, I'm Sushi House. Oh, you're Sushi House? You guys so good? Well, I'm Faux House. Well, round one, fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then they start fighting and throwing sushi. And
my mind immediately went to like South Park.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I could absolutely see a South Park skit, because you could have Sushi House and the Faux Liberty on there. They duke it out. I can't help but think of the guy from City Walk.
Shitty work.
Yeah.
Oh God. They get away with so much stuff that I don't even attempt to say.
I feel like they're grandfathered in, kind of like
Yeah,
The
they are
Simpsons,
yeah.
to where it's like, okay, they're an institution. I mean, they dialed it back quite a bit. I mean, I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the old ones in a long time, or a lot of the new ones, but like the old ones, man, they were pretty out there, man. They didn't hold back. Now they're a little bit wiser about it, but
Yeah, The Simpsons, rest in peace. I mean, well, I'm sure they're still going to produce.
I think so.
But I remember when I was a kid and everybody was throwing a fit over Bart Simpson saying, "Don't have a cow, man."
That was a thing?
Yeah, that was like a thing. Specifically, I was in middle school. I remember that.
Where were they on Eat My Shorts?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, if Don't Have a Cowman was the apocalypse, Eat My Shorts would have had to have been the second coming of an apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I know for a while there was an issue with like Homer like choking out Bart. Like people didn't like that for a while.
Oh, yeah. He's always choking out Bart, though.
I know. Well, I mean, sometimes,
Yeah, that's right. They're always, there's one thing they want to just, and then at what point are they just going to nitpick to the point where that they ruin the originality of the show and whatnot?
Well, but then after X amount of time of a show anyway, you kind of try to figure out where to go, and it's almost like the Madonna thing, trying to reinvent yourself, even though you don't have to dramatically, but you see it.
Mm-hmm. Have you been what animations do you watch now for leisure and humor and whatnot?
For me, I really like anime, so like things like Dragon Ball Z, Full Metal Alchemist, Gundam Wing, a ton of them, a ton of like short series, you know, like Sword Art Online, like that. Me and my wife will sit and watch together. Yeah, like Naruto, that stuff's dope. Not so much Bleach, that one's a little bit too much, but yeah. I like anime. And as far as like if there is a cartoon and stuff, like I like the Avatar: The Last Airbender. That one in Korra is pretty good. And then yeah, we mostly watch anime. I don't watch too much like I guess live stuff. But I like Parks and Rec. That stuff's good.
Yeah. So where are you watching most of your stuff? Do you go on Netflix or where do you?
Netflix. I had a few of the other streaming services like Hulu, and we have Amazon Prime just because we got Prime. But other than that, you know, either that or on YouTube. We have not had cable for probably at least a decade.
Yeah, same.
Like and it seems like the cable companies are catching up to it too, because now all these separate companies now have streaming services, and eventually I wouldn't be surprised if they have a what is it, like a bundled package of streaming services, almost like you had cable again.
That would be smart because I'm paying like $100 a month for my internet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, it gets up there, man.
too bad this Xfinity's got the monopoly where I live too, so I can't.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
Xfinity
in this apartment.
Man, so we had Xfinity for a long time, and then they mysteriously, our bill was always never the same, and it was always usually higher than what they told us, and we had paid on time, so it never made sense. And so we finally moved on from them.
Mm-hmm.
It was Quest or CenturyLink before we moved up here, and it was just a flat $55 a month. I'm like, okay. And it never changed. Sometimes I almost felt like I wanted to call Xfinity and say, hey, you could do this where we don't have to change.
Yeah, I've been finding ever since, like, whether it was a phone bill, it's usually the internet bill. It's one of those things you have to call every month and complain because they slowly jack up your rates.
Yeah.
And they expect you not to complain until you do complain, call and complain. Yeah. And ask for the loyalty department.
Yeah, I mean, that is the secret squirrel information. Like, if you ever have a big cable bill, internet bill, whatever, call them up and say, hey, I'm going to switch companies. Then you'll find out really quickly that your bill can get adjusted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, every time I would call and say, hey, why is my bill ABC? And they'd be like, oh, hey, we'll cut it in half. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. But then within, the next 3-4 months, it was right back to where it was, and nothing changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is your thought process when you are trying to get new clients? Like, let's say you just moved to Spokane. Mm-hmm. You know what you know, but you have nobody.
Right.
How would you get people?
So, like, say if I were a business that just started up in Spokane.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so initially what I would do, it depends on the type. So if your business model is more of a B2B, I would probably see what networking groups are in town. Because if it's B2B, you're going to be working with business owners, so you want to get to where they're at. Then the next step would be, I don't know if I would say do paid ads yet. Start figuring out what your messaging needs to be. Start testing, cold emails, cold calls, get your, do that type of thing. And then, but if you're going to want to accelerate things, I would look, there's 3 areas to me that make sense. You have like video, kind of like YouTube commercials and things like that, TikTok. You have social media. Well, I guess there's 4 then. You have social media, then you have Google SEO, digital, internet. But then the one area, like what I've come to know, is every area has the digital, the video, commercials, radio, all that. But not every area has the same offerings in terms of print. So where I would start is I would have a good website. I would have a good Google, make sure your SEO is kind of playing, get your social media, and then get a print, some type of print going. That way, it's kind of like you can hit all different areas of that marketing needs to hit. Because whoever you're going to hit on social media, for however many people are on social media and use it as their primary source, there's a section of people who don't. So you're not getting as much of your market as you could be. And a conversation I was having with my wife, and I have no clue if this is true or not, but the scenario I put in my head was, so say if, just for argument's sake, say I have a retail store, and so 100% of my market is whatever. 60% of that market hangs out on social media, 40% hangs out and they do more print. But it's kind of like figuring out which of those two areas can I get a higher percentage within. So if I have 60% over here and only 25% engagement of that 60%, but I have 40% over here, I'm getting 30 or 35%, I have a higher engagement over here. So just because you have a higher pool on social media or digital or whatever, doesn't mean you don't have the same ratio or the same engagement level. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because right now, in terms of social media, or digital, you have a higher population potential that has access to it. But the engagement on print, you'd have to, fact check me if you want, but I believe the engagement on print ads is a higher percentage than the others.
I would say so. I mean, I physically picked this up and looked at it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't personally know you, I would have probably tossed it.
I've gotten that a lot.
But there has been other days where I have gone through this.
Yeah.
Just random. And it's pretty damn consistent too. And that's what's nice about what you're offering is consistency. But yeah, like I open it up and I find that one thing. I'm like, I know about flying squirrel, but the faux, I'll check out faux.
There you go.
I'll check out faux. And I go through it and I don't need a lawyer. I don't need a lot of this stuff. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of like when I do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I know that most of the people that might come across this will never be interested in what we're talking about. But there may be that one person who's like, how good is a mailing campaign? Or like, how good is mail marketing or whatever the thing is going to be?
Well, and then it's kind of like the argument or what, I tell my kids sometimes is like, not everyone's going to like you. Same with your business. Not everyone's going to like your business. It's not going to resonate with you. And so it's same thing as like when I call people and talk to people and it's like, hey, this isn't for me. It's like, okay, that's fine. Because for someone else it will be. And then, it's, I'm trying to think of the right words and they're not coming. So that's bad.
Okay, that's fine.
But it's just, same thing if you're running an ad or you have different type. In our area, there's probably hundreds or thousands of different people who offer like digital advertising or SEO and things like that. Fundamentally and on a principle level, they probably all understand how to do the keywords, how to get you set up, how it should look. But then you have you have the algorithms and then you have the human component. You could have it set up perfectly, but for whatever reason, you can have two identical websites, structurally, all that, replace one name with another. For whatever reason, they like the other guy. And you could actually it could be the same owner of both businesses, but for whatever reason, this one's doing good, this one's not. They're offering the same thing. So that's the other reason why you want to be in multiple areas if you're going to advertise. And if I were a new company, I want to hit as many different areas or have access to as many different pools of people as I can, because one area is going to resonate more than another for one group of people and vice versa. Same thing with like this podcast, wherever you decide to put it, wherever, whether it's Spotify or all the other places that you can do, some people are going to see it in one area. Some people are going to see more in another area, and you just don't know.
That's true. Yeah. And I think about like in terms of dollars invested to return on real dollars, like you are going to get a return. You're going to get leads. Like like if I throw something in there for a restaurant, I'm probably going to get some leads. A restaurant will be more difficult to track the leads because they don't ask customers when they walk in, how did you hear about us?
Yeah.
But if it was like air duct cleaning, I'd be like, hey, I learned about air duct cleaning.
Yeah.
From Pennywise, I would say that to the people if they ask, how'd you hear about us?
Yeah. Well, and oftentimes, because we, people that we talk to, they ask, well, how do you measure engagement? Well, I can only go off of what I'm told. So a lot of time people will say, well, people came in, I didn't, we don't know where they came from. Do you guys ask? We do, but we also don't. So it's like, you never know.
Oh shit. If somebody asked me, how do you measure, if I was in your shoes and somebody asked me that question, I would say, I don't. That's your responsibility.
I mean,
That's
more or
your
less
responsibility to track leads that come into your office and figure out where they're coming from.
Yeah.
All I can do is send things out in bulk. If you think I could possibly track those metrics, that's insane. How could you?
Well, and honestly, I say that very politely and tactfully. I'm like, I really can't. That is the other reason why it's set up as a coupon, because it's a physical, something physical that you can hold on to.
And they show up.
Much like a QR code on a landing page or a trackable phone number. The difference, though, is all the coupons would represent a sale. Clicks, pay-per-clicks, anything that leads to a landing page, things of that nature. Clicks, likes, and shares do not necessarily equate to sales.
No. Not at all.
I have kind of a business acquaintance, Solid Fire Pits.
Yeah.
Scott's awesome. That thing's amazing.
Dude, he had a great freaking new fire pit that
I
saw. Like,
dude,
he's an inside home one. Like, I'm like, wow, that's fucking cool. This is dodecahedron with the triangular thing. Yeah.
Dude, and I think he was trying to make a Death Star, which I thought
he did a Death Star. Yeah.
Oh, okay, he did.
Yeah,
okay,
I got a lot of views on TikTok. He gets a lot of views.
So, and not to pick on him, but as to drive my point home, on a lot of his TikToks and things of that, he has a lot of views, but the views have not necessarily converted to sales.
That's what he talks about too.
So
that's his issue.
And that's my point there is we get so sucked into, and truth be told, I do too.
Been 20 minutes.
Do I keep talking?
You keep talking. It's been 20 minutes, so keep listening. Thanks for watching.
But I fall into the same trap too, where you put out, a post, you look and see how many people liked, you hope to see a lot of engagement, but you don't always. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's like the likes, shares, and clicks don't always equal sales.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's exactly what's. I mean, how.
Oh, now I remember.
It's hard to do that. Like, first off, I think what you're doing is the only thing that people are gonna see a return on.
A direct return.
Yeah, a direct return in some way. Whether it is a physical coupon showing up or getting planted in the minds of somebody. Now, hopefully, if you're page one, that's where you want to be.
Well, yeah. Page one, hands down. And actually, the way print seems to work best as far as what I've seen. all the pages work. It depends on the type of business you are, your needs, and what you're looking to do. Covers always will do the best, but page 1 and 2 after the cover, or page 2 and 3 after the cover do great. Page 3, because you figure when you open the book, the first page you're going to see is the one in your right hand. You're going to look there, and then you're going to look left. So, but everywhere does good. But what I was getting at before, and I'll circle back to what you're saying. My bad, but it was we all get suckered into these vanity metrics, and that's all they are. They're vanity. Like, you make a post, man, look, I had 100,000 people like and all like, share, all that, but maybe 10 actually clicked or wanted to actually proceed forward, and maybe 1 out of those 10 did something. So it's like, just because you have a lot of, clicks, likes, vanity metrics doesn't mean sales. And that's the part that I think some businesses get tripped up on. Some people,
Yeah, you're very much right. Some people think, and I love when I meet these people and they claim they're something good because of their subscriber base. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I do is I look at their subscriber base, and I start going down all their videos, and I see, can you get more views than subscribers? That's my biggest metric. And if they can't get more views than subscribers, I let them know, look, man, your content's garbage because you don't get more views than subscribers. Like, if I was to have you do an advertisement for me, there's no guarantee you're even going to get that many subscribers to watch it, because you don't have a loyal subscriber base to begin with. They don't really like you that much. They just subscribed.
Yeah.
And you can buy subscribers too. That's why subscribers don't mean shit. Followers don't mean shit.
I've started to notice that too, being in this world, and, you look out, you scope out businesses to talk to, or people who friend you after you get to a certain point. You're like, okay, you have 5,000-6,000 followers, but I don't really see that same engagement level from your 5,000 followers on your page. So it's kind of suspicious.
Well, you got to call them out, because no one's called them out on that. And that's why they're walking around like emperors with no clothing. And they haven't had somebody who actually looks at the data and say, look, your content's not good because it doesn't get more views than subs. There's no nice way to say it.
Well, there was a company who reached out to me. I won't say their name, but they wanted to do a little bit of social media or some video style stuff for me too. Yeah. And, I asked for, some businesses that they're working with, because they'd built themselves up to be at a certain tier. I'm like, okay. But I looked at their page, and then I looked at the pages of the people that they said they represented or they did the work for. And I was just polite. I said, hey, I think I think for now we're not going to do anything. And the person asked, hey, just for my know-how, can I ask why? And I said, well, with all due respect, when I look at what I don't think you can deliver based on what I've seen in these areas. I mean, you kind of built yourself up to be at a certain place, and I don't think you're there. And for the, for the price and everything, it wouldn't be worth it. You know what I mean?
You're so much more professional than I am.
I'm just nice. I just try to be nice to people.
I guess I'm just too abrasive and a dick. I guess that's the Marine in me, where I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
If somebody is trying to sell me a bunch of bullshit and I know they're full of shit, I call them out on it.
Yeah.
But you're right, and you got to deal wholesale with these people.
Yeah.
And you're right. They think there's something, and you got to let them. And that's why it's important for nowadays for people to understand these metrics, because there's people who don't even think like you. They don't even think to look at those sort of metrics and evaluate other companies based on it. I think that now that I have the degrees in it, I think a lot of SEO and digital marketing is just pure fucking snake oil. It's snake oil, and they can't prove shit. And at the end of the day, they'll go back and tell the customer the same thing that I would tell the customer. It's like, look, I can't track leads. That's your responsibility to track leads. All I
Right.
can do is post stuff. You know, like KXLY or one of those K freaking things here.
Yeah.
In Spokane.
The radio?
Not.
Or are we actually talking TV?
We're talking TV.
Okay.
Because I met one of their people at a networking event, and I asked them, and I'm like, so how do you guys do it? What are you doing? He's like, we charge $250 to do one post on our Facebook page. I'm like, why? What's the point? Where is it? Like, doesn't mean that you're going to get the views on one platform, so I'm wasting $250. And a lot of these dudes, they're charlatans. They're con artists. A lot of them are con artists. And you have to ask yourself, when they say that they take your money just to pay Facebook ads for you, they're fucking lying. They're a one-trick pony. You can do that yourself. You don't need them.
Yeah.
You could probably get more reach as a term, and I hate that term because when people say the term reach, it means they are showcasing how limited of a knowledge they have in this industry, because they're only taking one metric from one platform, which is Instagram, and everybody else doesn't use that shit.
What word would you put in place of it?
What is your network?
Okay. Well,
how big's your network?
Well,
and then you start from there.
Okay.
Like, my network has a subscriber base of X. On average, my channels get 100,000 views a month.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then you start with those metrics. And then people can evaluate, okay, based off of his views that he gets. And that's the only thing I listen to is the views they get from the videos.
Well, and
I asked him, how do you title a video? Where do you get your calls to action? Because so what? If I give you something, if I give you a gift, and if we're at the mall, right, and I buy a shirt and I go to the gift wrappers at the mall and I say, here's a gift I want wrapped, and they wrap it in the ugliest freaking paper. They just wrap it in cardboard and they don't even put a name on it, and they give it back to you and charge you money.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get, and nobody wants it because it was an ugly gift. Nobody knows whose the gift was to begin with because there's no name on it. They conned you, and that's what a lot of these places are doing.
Yeah, and that is also what I'm hoping can be accomplished as like a passive thing with, some of the things that I'll post on Facebook as far as what I think is educational stuff. Is more or less what I've learned is, like, if maybe companies who are small business, not necessarily big, because they have a whole team behind them that they're paying for data and analysis and things like that. Nike and those places, they're pretty dialed in as far as what they need to do to draw from their audience. They know how to, what messaging and all that, or what areas to go to today or whatever. But like small businesses like myself, it's trial and error. You see what another person has done, so you try it, but you don't. There's a lot of charlatans out there that it's all snake oil for a lot of them, where I wouldn't say that my example earlier was of one. I think it was of someone who sounded a lot like how I did when I first got into it. You're trying to say all the right things to make a sale, but the other end of it is you got to be able to deliver. So it's like, if you talk yourself into a corner and you can't deliver, eventually it will come out, and you don't want to have that name for yourself. There was a person on YouTube. He didn't have a really big viewer base, but his name was Rex something. He was trying to do social media marketing. And I'd watch his videos because he had videos of him just doing cold calls, and I was like, hey, I want to just listen and see how people are doing it, see how it feels for them, that anxiety, when you got to call someone out of the blue and you don't know if you're going to get yelled at or whatnot. But anyway, so I was watching his videos, and he had said he'd never done advertising, never done marketing, nothing. He had expressed that he didn't know what he was doing. And you hear him trying to talk people into it, and then I reached out in comments and whatnot. I asked, I said, what, do you have a full-time job? If you have a full-time job, what I would do if I were you is ask companies if they would, a few within your niche that you're trying to push, is, can I do some work for you for free? Build up your skills, build up a good network of people who you've done the work for free. You did it well. Maybe you had some trial and error, but it didn't hurt them to do it. To where then you can start going to people and charging, and then you're less of a charlatan. But back to the original point, I got ADD. Like,
no, it's all good. You're
good. But it's just, yeah, you get people that they say that they can do ABC things, and they can't. Mm-hmm. It's and some of the people in the know, you hear it, and you're like, that's just not how it works. Like, oh, I can do this, this, and this, and it's like that. It's not going to play out that way. And it's sad because I see people, and I take it serious because a lot of these small businesses, they're it's not like they're making a ton of money. They maybe out the door are like 9-to-5ers, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like, if they're taking a chance on something, even if they're taking a chance on me with the direct mail, I want to be as transparent as possible. I want to tell them what the upside is, but I also don't want to make it so extreme to where it's like I give you these unrealistic expectations that even if it does well, genuinely well with industry standards, like you think it didn't because you had these expectations way up here, Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you put the good number in my head, and I'm like, okay, so I have that as this baseline number, which was, you said $2,500 will get one dissemination
mm-hmm.
of one on that month's thing, all of Spokane.
Yeah. So essentially, just to put what you were saying, to bring it back just a hair, is our Y Shopper. We send those booklets. We're into about 275,000 plus ish, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. When we add in Sandpoint, we're a little bit more than that. And we're in 6 areas, within 4 in Spokane, 2 in Idaho. So of that number, if a person hypothetically spent $2,700, you would go to that entire number I just said. Mm-hmm. And there's no algorithms. There's no, you don't have to bid on space other than positioning in the book. It's first come, first serve. But yeah, like you just said, for $2,700, you're going to hit the entire number we said.
Okay, yeah, which is important too, especially in the world of advertising. So I was very blessed to have. Well, people don't know what they don't know, but four P's of marketing: product, price, place, promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in Spokane, $2,700, you can get your ad into every mailbox in Spokane.
Just about.
Yeah, just about. There you go.
I mean, just think about
through
that.
The Wise Shopper.
Through the Wise Shopper, and call Geremy.
And call Geremy, and he's gonna do that because not even the Spokesman Review gets that sort of dissemination.
The Inlander doesn't either.
Saturation. None of the news gets that saturation in the target market. Nobody gets that saturation. That's better than reach.
And if you compare that price to even social media, a lot of the social media doesn't get there either.
No, I don't think there's anything. See, so I survived Afghanistan. One of the reasons I survived Afghanistan was one of the reasons, not the reason, but one of many reasons, was psychological operations flyers that I would walk around the villages and I would pass out just single flyers that were about half, just like cut a piece of paper in half, and they were printed off by these PSYOPs guys, and they would come and they would give us the flyers about once a quarter. It seemed like maybe once every every so often when we were in Afghanistan, and those had a huge impact.
Yeah.
Way bigger than I thought. Like just going around and passing out the paper flyers and making sure they got in the hands of people. Most people would burn them. They'd take them. They'd rip them up into little shreds.
Yeah.
Because I'd find them searching compounds. Like I'd be like, okay, there's a little bag. And I'd open up the bag and there's all the flyers that we'd passed out, but they're ripped up and put into a bag. But I knew what they were using it for because paper's rare and a lot of them can't read and write. Yeah, only 1 in 30 is literate. And it's like 5th grade.
Oh.
For if you were literate. But they would use those later to burn to start their fires because they needed that for the kindling.
That's kind of what I was thinking, like fire starter.
Yeah, that's their only, like, because they needed that shit because they have no electricity. No electricity. They're mud huts. They rely on
so
fire.
real old school.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Real old school. And so that, but I am a firm believer in something that's real and physical, and it's something that's real and it's physical and it's adding a dividend.
Yeah.
Like, because, like the freaking, this dude.
Which one?
Farrar Brothers decking fencing sighting.
Farrar Brothers.
Yeah. I don't even know who those guys are, but if I needed some decking or fencing done, now I know. And see, here's another dividend. Just by you being associated and being on this podcast, I'm now talking about Mr. Chimney. He sells fireplace inserts in wood gas stoves.
Pellet. Yep.
Limited time offer, $250 off this season. It's the season right now.
Tis the season.
It's
to bring
getting colder. You need a chimney.
Warmth.
Mega Wash Car Express.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've driven by their place. I remember I used to have to, I lived on Sharp Street, and I went to Gonzaga University. Used to drive past Mega Wash Car Express.
Well, and see, that's one of the beautiful things, even for me, whether or not people are in the booklets or not. It's you get to see a whole lot of businesses that honestly, if I just went to Google, I would not see them.
Well, that's the thing. Just looking at Mega Wash Car Express, though I'm not in a car washing mood.
Right.
Really give a shit. But when I look at it, this picture is invoking memories. And this is longer dwell time on this specific media object, which is great.
Well, and that's something they talk about just, on the marketing side of things when you're looking at what pros and cons with like print is. It's something that it's tangible. You can hold it. It's feels a little bit more intimate, more personalized. I can flip through it. And that's the beauty of it being in kind of like a booklet format is, I don't know about you, but I can see you flipping through it and you're pretty happy about it. I can see a smile. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know about you, but if I get like a magazine or something in the mail, like the Joannes and things like that, I'll flip through them. Whether or not I want to do anything with it or not, I'll flip through it.
Yeah, I think people,
because you never know.
That. They have, you never know. Each page turn is almost like you might get that dopamine hit. Yeah. I would sell that. It's almost like, it's like living social media reel.
Well, it's
like, yes, I make living social media reels and I send them to people's mailboxes.
I had a hot take the other day. I think I said it at like a mastermind group that I'll go to on Fridays with. They are now friends of mine, I consider. But my hot take, it was either to them or my wife. Anyway, it was basically I was like, we're like the social media of the print world. Yes. And it was like, okay, you're gonna need to explain that to me. And I was like, okay. So with it being a direct mail thing, hey, you pick the region, same as if you're gonna run a Facebook ad. You can Facebook, you pick the region, then you're trying to figure out how many people it's going to go to. With us, it's going to at least go to 50,000 homes, and then you send it. So it's like, hey, we're like the Facebook of the print world just because we hit so much. It was a hot take. I don't know why I went there, but yeah.
Here's another idea. if you're like, say like faux liberty here.
Right?
Oh, I'm checking the voice thing. Oh, I need to turn this down. Turn this up a little bit.
Am I a little too loud? A little too soft?
No.
I get animated.
No, it's okay. And it's better that okay, go ahead and talk.
Talk. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good.
Oh yeah, I think it is that you do get animated. Everybody's got their own
I do.
voice
I get
things. That's fine.
I get excited.
But let's say Liberty Faux here. If you're to open it one day and it says how to make pho.
Mm-hmm.
Pho.
Yeah.
To make pho, because I know they're killing me right now. They're like, "Oh, I'll kill you, fuck up our world." All right, but how to make pho, and they have the instructions.
Yeah.
But no one's gonna make pho.
No.
They're like swamped with.
That's
recipes.
a process.
But they're gonna look at it and they're like, "Huh." But at least you titled it with how to make pho.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh shit!" And then this one. How to burn out kids' energy.
Yeah. That flying squirrel. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm thinking is this would be something to try. Of course, every experiment you do is very costly in your R&D.
Yeah.
In
Trial
a
and error.
way. But maybe titling each page with a question that might match. So, man, that may just be a bunch of nothing, just more text and wording on stuff. I don't know. I think the comic book thing is cool though.
I'm not gonna lie, I would definitely try it.
Yeah. So talk about your networking. So you said you went to one on Friday. Talk about that.
So what it is, it's a mastermind group that I go with three other gentlemen, four other gentlemen. We just sit down, we talk about, what our goals are, how to reach them. We bounce ideas off one another. We also have like a little secret chat that we talk to, and like sharing your metrics, like, hey, this is my goals for the week. It's almost like a professional accountability buddy group. But yeah, and that's what I do on Fridays. And as far as the other networking things you've seen within the Spokane small business group, you see me post things in there. I am in the other groups. I just don't put things in there that often. And then, yeah, I'm in a BNI group in the Valley. I don't remember the name. And anyone from that group who hears it will probably be like, it's this, but I don't know. It's the Valley one. But that's what I do. And
with Stephen Hicks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he is in the Valley, but yeah, I credit him a lot to what has become my approach to things. He's a good, caring person. I like his philosophy with how he carries himself in networking groups, and he's more giving than he is a taker. And just as a small plug for him, he's trying look at his Stephen Hicks's Facebook stuff. He has a health group that he's trying to set up, and I'm butchering it so bad, but he's trying to get a few more signups for that. So look up Stephen Hicks. He's on my friend's deal, and you probably see him in the groups. But it's for a health coach type stuff. The Health Rebels, the anti-fitness fitness coach.
Well, yeah, Steven was on the podcast.
Oh, I know he was, but
cool.
I'd be remiss if I didn't plug him.
Well, then, good. Well, while you plugged him, I'll try to hopefully have the thing lead with the with the thing that pops up like Stephen Hicks.
I'll let you handle all that back end magic.
Yeah, but that's good. So you're learning about masterminding. How long have you been masterminding, and how is that going for you?
I would say we've been doing it maybe 4 or 5 months. Mm-hmm. And it's been going great. I've implemented a lot of the things that we talk about that are advice that is given to me, and I've seen results. It's not exactly like, tricks or anything like that, but it's just mindset. Like, hey, like, so if you're a company and you're having to make these phone calls and things like that. The other day I was talking in, for any of those who are in sales and have to make cold calls, there was a few days ago, I was so debilitatingly afraid of calling anyone. It was, the Friday after, Thanksgiving. And so Black Friday, and you're like, who am I going to call right now? I need to be working. I've already sent my emails, but like, I need to pick up the phone, just call someone. And then you create all these scenarios of people being mad or no one's there, and then you just do nothing. Well, sitting down talking to now my friends, within that group, it's like, what's the worst that can happen? Or, well, in the last few years, when have you ever really had anyone like yell at you? Like twice? Okay. So there's really no fear that, there's nothing that anyone on the other side of the line can do to you other than maybe you catch them on a bad day. Maybe the day you called them, just they were busy. They didn't have time to talk to you. Okay. Circle back around. But, it's just not getting too much in your head about those things. And we all do.
Taking shit personally.
Yeah. Or overthinking. Definitely. And stumbling before you even get going.
Yeah. It's like, why would some random stranger take shit personally over something another random stranger did? But, I mean, short of being heinous, but like a cold call. I know how that feels though. When I was a teenager, I got scammed into this job that I found through the paper or something, to be a telemarketer.
Yeah.
I quit after like 2 days. It was horrible.
I don't blame you.
Oh God.
It's rough, man, because I know how I feel, because what would get in my mind oftentimes is like, I know how I feel when people call me. So, and then I'm like, well, they're going to think the same thing as I do. But within that group, and then there was a YouTube that was afterwards. It was like, he just put it in generalized terms. He's like, I know that if I call, in order to get one sale, I need to make 50 calls. Within those 50 calls, at least 1 or 2 will happen. So his mindset was, I'm not even mad, because the sooner this one ends, I move on to the next one. And eventually you're going to find someone who the information you have, the service you offer is what they were needing, and you catch them at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, and you nailed it in persistence. Now, the one thing, B2B, that's how you do it. You answered my question. That's how you get business customers. Well, okay, I guess no. Here's my more formulated question.
Fair.
How easy is it to get... Because if I think of like just some random, like Fred Meyer,
right
down here. And if I called Fred Meyer, I'm like, hey, do you guys want to advertise with a Y Shopper?
Yeah.
Like, first off, what number do you call? Are you just going to sit there and like on hold, like, hold on, wait till we get our associate manager or blah, blah, blah. Or they give you some brick wall that's a lie.
Yeah.
And then I guess you would have to work really hard to get one of those bigger box stores.
I think the bigger ones is more of a process because there's a chain of command that you don't really think about.
Yeah.
So case in point, I ended up having a talk with T-Mobile and getting to like a regional marketing director, right? So even though he's a regional marketing director, he still has a chain of command to still share the information, what it is, and even see if it's within what they want to do, So, and as far as like T-Mobile's concerned, I called up a random store and just, said, hey, this is going to sound really weird, and I apologize ahead of time. And that is exactly what I said. Who would I even talk to for like advertising or marketing? Who, like if I wanted to have a conversation with someone about that, get information in their hands, who would it be? Who would I need to go to? And luckily it was a very polite young lady, and the person I needed to happened to be at the store. So she put me on hold. She talked to him. He gave me his contact information. And then I forgot to ask for his name at the time. And so then I had to call back a week later. And I was like, hey, I talked to so-and-so manager and whatnot. I'm trying to figure out his name because I want to be able to address it to him. And she's like, oh, no, you talked to me. And then my heart's like, I'm like, dang it. Like called up looking like a dork. And she's like, it's okay. His name's this. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. So I got the same girl twice and she was very polite. So I lucked out with that. But as far as what you were just saying, it's a process. You may have to call, like say if it's Fred Meyer, you may have to call the one that's near Freya and see if you can get up to like a store manager or someone, a decision maker of that location. They may have the pull to just make a decision there, but you need to at least, it's almost kind of like going up a staircase. Like, okay, I got to this person who's going to get me to this person.
Okay, yeah,
I don't know if I answered it, but it's a process.
Well, when you said this is going to sound really weird, but
yeah,
that is a silver lining. That's like some plate of silver you found that offers your thing a lot better because it takes people out of the mindset of. So it's like, hey, it's more of a chain of command hunt than it is a thing. Yeah, I tried that once too. I'm not successful at doing it. I'm not at all. I think, one time I walked into a bar and I was able to get a sale with the bar owner, like 2 small items. I'm like,
yeah.
But when I was doing a different business, but yeah. So how would you go about doing advertising for the marijuana stores like Locals Canna House?
Well, for us, we don't put them in.
Oh, you don't?
No, because really in the middle of every book, and it's just been our policy that we don't put like the marijuana stores. We don't put like the adult stores in there. Vape shops. We don't do those.
Do they ask?
We used to have them in, and so we're a Christian-oriented company, and the thought was, hey, it's not my decision, so I'll just throw that out there, but it was ownership's decision that, hey, I don't know if this speaks to the Christian lifestyle, so we won't put it in. So. We just, for lack of better terms, I just don't go and ask. We haven't had them call, but I just don't go into them.
Gotcha. You just haven't approached the target market.
Yeah.
Because
I have no problem. They would do amazing, I think. But
I would think more like, marijuana, because I only see them advertised in social media.
Now, I think like CBD, as far as the medicinal part of it, that one's okay.
Yeah.
But
that's HR accepted now.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it should be, because there's nothing, all that stuff, there's so many good things with like the CBD, the hemp, and things like that. I think people, just as a tangent, people get out in the weeds as far as like, they're like, oh, it's weed, it's weed, it's weed. It's like, no, dude, you're looking at it in this one context, but you're forgetting all this medicinal part of it. Glaucoma, they have things like that, right? Don't they have you smoking for like glaucoma? I don't know.
Yeah.
Long and short of it, I don't have a problem with it, but I think they do great,
Yeah, so it's something to consider, like if and you think about how that's changing. Like if I was to go through here and see a marijuana, like for Locals Canna House, I would look.
Right.
And then I would say, huh, interesting. 10 years ago, I remember when I was a kid, this shit wasn't even legal, and now you see it advertised everywhere. Now it's part of, I guess it's part of the vibe of Washington. So that's just like a nostalgic thing I'm reminiscing on, not really necessarily like business related, but on that though, those marijuana shops do cash transactions. And only cash, because they can't be like they, whatever reason, there's a law.
I wonder if it's like a federal versus state kind of thing.
It's literally that, and the bigger banks can't deal with them.
Makes sense.
And so they have to do cash only. And when I talk to some of these guys that work in the industry, literally the sales bud tenders on the floor, and they talk about how much their tills are off. Because if you ever run into one, ask them, how much is your till off every night? And they'll say, oh shit, our shit's off by hundreds of dollars.
Oh, wow.
Hundreds of dollars. And that is the result of living in when you have to deal with cash only. Now imagine our economy back before it was all cash.
Right.
All those things. That was a huge margin that people accounted for, like how much these tills are going to be off. Now, like, I remember when I worked for Domino's Pizza and I would get interrogated if my till was off by fucking $7.
Yeah.
And that was me being a pizza driver running cash in and out. And then we're taking it out of your tips.
Right.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, so every night. Yeah. And so now we have these accounting systems, and that speaks to another story that I had for the news on the last one, which was this huge injustice of people going to jail in the post office, not here in the US, in the UK, because of this accounting system that was implemented in the 90s, and this thing was off bad. So the algorithm was off.
Yeah.
And it led to like 86 convictions, and so they've overturned 86 of them so far, and they're paying out millions of dollars for wrongful convictions. So and that's a thing. So if you're working in an industry where you have a till as a cashier or something, you have to rectify that to the end of the day. If you get charged with some sort, unless you're a legit criminal.
Yeah.
And they're they caught you red-handed but if you're just a normal dude and they're like, no, oh my God, motherfucker, look, through all these years you've worked here, you've pocketed little bits, and this is what the thing says, we're charging you. And they got all those years of evidence and shit, and literally, and yeah, you fight that and you say, oh, hell no, I want to read the source code. I want the source code scrutinized by teams of freaking data scientists and computer scientists, because I don't trust your proprietary software.
Yeah.
So that's something to be considered to be a safe employee of these sort of places, and be cognizant of that. But yeah, it goes back to cash tills being off by a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it because if the, bigger transactions, and just, I know it happens for me, where just numbers, you think you see something and you didn't. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how that happens. You almost think you're dyslexic, and you're not. It's just when you're dealing with a lot of cash, like a big wad of cash, you think you saw a lot, or you think you counted enough, but it's weird. The brain will play tricks with you, and you'll just miss it.
Yeah, I've seen these where people will do that hustle. They'll do that hustle with unwitting cashiers.
I could see it.
Where they'll be like, no, I gave you a blank, and and then they give them more.
Yeah.
Penn and Teller did that. I think it was a good one.
So I didn't do that with money once, but there was one time I tried to call out of work. I was at it was a trailer shop, and my boss, he was very prideful, so he would never want to admit when he was wrong. So I called out, or the way I called out, I said, "Hey, I'm not there today," and he said, "Oh, when did you say you weren't here?" I was like, "Don't you remember me having you approve it the other day?" And I didn't. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I did." I was like, "Okay, cool."
Nice.
Yeah. I only pulled that trick on him twice. After that, I was like, nah, he'll catch on.
Yep. He'll catch on. And
they were strategically placed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what's unique about that. The bosses and days off and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about being an independent is, you know, you can dictate your hours. If I want to take a day off, I'm going to take a day off. As long as I have my phone, I'm never really off. But, like, if I want a mental day, I'm going to take a mental day. If I want to, if my daughter has a choir deal, I'm going to make every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no problem. So that's kind of the nice thing about it.
Yeah, it's nice to be your own entrepreneur and work for yourself for the most part. I enjoy that. There's times though where I kind of miss like being in work. Well, I kind of like the mindless.
Oh yeah,
my job, like
where you can shut your mind off and like, hey, I'm gonna clock in, do what I need to do. Yeah,
like there was this time when I was a janitor for like a few months, and that was a chill job.
Yeah,
it was just chill. I knew my route and I did it, and I listened to podcasts prior to going to work. I knew I was like going through my thing, putting everything I wanted to listen to, and I was entertained. Time flew by, and I learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just through podcasts, not necessarily cleaning.
No, I get it. I mean, what I've done with this in this industry, because prior to it, I was a trailer mechanic. Didn't really know anything about marketing, advertising, nothing. But you listen to podcasts, listen to books, you apply the logic afterwards. But yeah, being able to just do that. Like I used to work at a petroleum warehouse, and we would have to load the trucks at night. We'd have to pump the totes full of oil, get everything ready to go. But all the management, all the office, they would leave. So we were essentially left to ourselves or on our own. So, you know, work at your pace. We had like the radio on and stuff. I really wish we would have had like our phones that we have now and that technology then, because listening to podcasts back then would have been so nice. You know, just running around getting the packet, getting all the product, putting them in the trucks. That would have been nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. Each podcast, and that's why I think like these mindless jobs, like a factory, just something where you can sit and just go on autopilot and listen to other people's conversations, is golden, because you're getting paid and you are listening to conversations with experts.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if it hasn't changed my life. Listening to all the different experts, the things I've learned, like the little gold nuggets. Like you saying, like, this is going to sound weird, but before you throw your pitch.
Yeah.
That's a little gold nugget. That's just something that shapes me, that just shapes my intuition a little bit sharper in a way. Yeah.
Well, and it's like you're able to, it's like through osmosis, it's like you're able to, I don't know, level up, but you're able to learn something that you would not have been able to learn just on your own quicker. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So on the world of social media marketing, which is something I will say you are much better at social media marketing than a lot of the social media marketers I meet. The alleged ones, even the ones with degrees that work for bigger companies. Because I know what they do, and I think that, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to sit and rip on them. But you are actually active in groups online, and when somebody asks something, you respond with the answer of somebody you're representing in the Wise Shopper, which is freaking awesome. That's another value-adding thing.
Yeah.
So talk about your world when you put a phone in front of your face and you say, now it's time to do my social media stuff. What do you do? What's your thought process?
Well, for me, depending on what it is, sometimes it might take an hour of me like typing something out and then like trying to check spelling, try to check numbers. and then me throughout the day editing said spelling and numbers after it's posted, because I'll reread it. You know, I'll be like, oh, I messed that up, so we need to fix that. Or there's been times where I've actually gone in and like edited things and added words, you know. But so my thought process, it's kind of almost like same process of an ad, right? What do I want this ad to say? What is the goal of this? So like say the one I did a few days ago about lifetime value versus customer acquisition, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do some real deep thoughts on that stuff.
It's purely, and what I do oftentimes is what I'm thinking about is what I'll end up posting. Mm-hmm. So like that one, I was sitting there thinking, like, you talk to people in the advertising world where some get it. They get like, okay, I know if you're working in sales, I know I need to have 7 to 10 touch points sometimes before even an actual genuine conversation takes place. And even then you might have more for follow-ups, so it becomes a conversion. Some take longer, some have taken me a year, some have taken 2 years to actually get to who I needed to, right? Mm-hmm. So like the thought process behind like the post that I did with that was just like, hey, it's educational. It's something that I think people should be able to see how numbers could play out. So for food for thought, to where it's like yeah, because we have a lot of small businesses and we have a lot of new businesses, even old businesses. They think they know they think they know something, and maybe they don't, and maybe it helps. So my main thought process on things that I'll post nowadays is, can it provide value? Can it provide, I do here and there, as part of my job, I'll post a salesy post where I'm looking for business. I limit those, but as a thought process, it's just about providing information and value to people that they may not have known. Because the way I see those groups is, we're there to help build each other up, whether it's business or not. So, but like that post, that one took me a while. That the customer acquisition and the lifetime value, because trying to really sit and think out that scenario, how it could play out or how to view it. And yeah. I don't know if that answered it. I went way out there.
Well, it's okay. So
bring me back. Bring me back in.
How many Facebook groups are you involved in?
I want to say probably 5's a good number, maybe more.
Oh, okay.
5's a good number, but the one that I post in most is the Spokane Small Business and Entrepreneurs Group, the Jake Beal group that meets at the Bellwether on Thursdays. I'm in that one, and that's actually where I've met my friends from the mastermind group, where Steve Hicks, So yeah. Yeah. So talk about how much time you spend on social media. I spend more time than I ever used to, simply so I can kind of monitor, things I want to post, see what other people are posting, so I can be active as far as commenting or liking and things like that. Because I figure, a like to me on a post is the same thing as what you saw for a few weeks, where it was like, hey, go to a person's page, invite all your friends, you helped a business for free. That was like a meta thing that people were doing within the community for a while. I figure another way that you can help them is like their posts. If you like their posts, maybe that helps their algorithm get in front of more people. Maybe your friends see a page that you liked, and then they start interacting. So I spend, if it's an 8-hour day, I'm probably on there 8 hours. Not consistently, on and off. I'll maybe check it every 45 minutes to an hour, just see if anyone's commented, because for whatever reason, I'm not very good at knowing the notifications, so I have to check. But and as a part of just seeing if people are reaching out to me, So I'm on there often. I see what I'm pretty aware of what people post to, and so I just try to be active.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So what things have you got? Well, what do you do for fun?
I like to play video games, watch anime, hang out with my kids. I do a lot of most of the times you'll find me sitting listening to the Bible even when I'm driving around. That's a lot of what I do. Pretty much that. Playing with my kids, hanging out with my wife. And then during the summer we have a pool up, so that's fun. Just
You
being
have
out
a
there.
pool?
It's an above ground deal.
Above ground, gotcha.
Yeah, we're not doing that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but it's a good sized pool. I mean, I'm like, okay, we can get in there, throw the kids as far up in the air as I can, and they're not scared of.
How old are your kids?
9 and 5.
Oh, good. Those are fun ages.
They are. And they both love it because right when we get in there, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to relax. And they're like, okay. And then they somehow, every time they get me to play, I'm like, oh, okay. But it's always like something from like a WWE thing where like, yeah.
Yeah, that's always fun.
And they love it. They love it if I throw them from one end of the pool to the other. They love that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So what about sports? Are they doing any sports?
Not yet. I think my youngest might get into wrestling. I'm pretty sure.
Wrestling.
Yeah, and then
I was a wrestler.
you did?
Oh yeah, and my boys wrestle too.
Back in the day, me too. I wrestle, and actually, for a stint, I did like the MMA thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have one amateur fight.
That's right. We should talk about that.
Yeah.
That's badass. So talk about that. What decided you to want to be an amateur? Just go to do a cage fight.
Well, so originally it was like the first time I was overweight and got down in pretty good shape. I was doing it, and then you're training in the gyms, you're training with the people who are going and doing fights anyway, and you're like, I'm doing pretty good against them. Well, they're winning these amateur belts. I bet I could probably do it, And then I asked my coach at the time. I said, yeah, I think I'm ready for a fight. He's like, I think so too. I was like, why? He's like, because wherever I put you, you go and you do it, in terms of like grappling with people or kickboxing, whatever. It was never it. When I started, like in terms of grappling, didn't mind. But when I was doing the boxing part, I would shell up a little bit because, you don't want to get hit in the face. But then once I got to the point where I was ready to do a fight, it was like, I didn't mind. I'd always joke. I'm like, I got to go learn how not to get hit in the face. And even though I'd still get hit in the face, but, when you can keep your composure when you get hit and your demeanor doesn't change, your eyes are still essentially focused on what you need to do. You're not overreacting, you're not fidgeting, you're not flinching, and you could sit, you could take a punch, you're in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I think you're ready, and I had gotten to that point. However, my first fight did not go very good because I tore my right knee, my ACL, my MCL the week of the fight. So I was cutting down. It was a catch weight fight. It was going to be 160. And my normal walk around at the time was around 170, 175. So my cut was fine. I was within 2 pounds of it, of 160, and it was on a Wednesday, weigh-ins or Friday. I should have stopped. I should have not did any more. I did all the running and whatnot, which I hate running, but I got to a point where I was running, 2 and 3 miles a day, just to have my cardio. Everything was good, but I think I might have overtrained. And then, I was just kind of like, I had my sauna suit on, and I was in the ring just kind of like light sparring with a friend just to move, I took a step back, felt a pop, and I would try to walk, and it felt like my leg was wobbly. And so that Thursday, I told my coach I wasn't going to fight, and then he talked me into it. But I had ballooned back up from like 162 to like 175, 178. And then I had to cut all that weight on a Thursday. I cut a lot of it Thursday night, and then I cut the rest on Friday, but I was overweight by 3 pounds, which sucked. So, and then I went into the fight still, and I had a point where I should have been able to dump the guy because back when I was wrestling, although I'm a little chubby kid now, but back then when I was wrestling and a lot stronger, like I could pick up a 200-300 pound dude and dump him on his head, like suplex. Maybe not Brock Lesnar style, but like I could do a like belly to back kind of thing with ease. And I got in, so we circled, went to the first exchange. He clipped me on my left orbital. I got in, and I had him on the side to where I had my hands locked and everything, where I should have been able, if not for fear of like if my right knee was going to buckle, I should have been able to dunk him. I should have picked him up and like Brock Lesnar'd him, but it didn't go down that way. And I rushed it. We went into the fence. He put me in a guillotine. I don't even think the guillotine was that bad, but I think with all the emotions, the jitters, and the adrenaline going, I think I tapped. It was like 40, 50 seconds, but it all happened so fast. But I also did Taekwondo for a long time. So another cool fact is I'm a 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Oh, cool.
So like the kicks and everything, I remember when I first started training, my coach at the time, Kurt, he knew me as a wrestler. That's what I came in as. And I remember I was sparring with his wife, and I threw an axe kick. And he's like, that's a beautiful axe kick for a wrestler. And so, like, I had pretty good flexibility to where I could hit, if it was 6'5", 6'8" kind of dude, I could still I could reach their chin. Mm-hmm. So, like, I had good kicks and everything like that, too. So, it was a bummer, man. And then after I blew out my right knee, about maybe within a year later, I blew out my left knee, and so I haven't really been able to train since.
Damn.
That is a long story, but yeah, that's how that all went down.
Holy shit. That sucks.
Well, and the funny thing is, I was at a B&I breakfast with before Thanksgiving, and one of the guys there, Bryce, he's like, no way, you didn't do that. I was like, yeah. I even have the photo and stuff on my phone of me out there. And he's like, no offense, I never would have thought that about you. You're more the kind of guy that I think would, like, if I had a problem, I would come to for like emotional support, not like that. But he's like, but you can really handle yourself. I'm like, I technically, yes, but I'm also not trying to go out there and get beat up. and it's the thing, me and him had that talk. I said, the one thing I will say to anyone is if you have kids, if you can get them into wrestling, mm-hmm. if you could get them into boxing, anything, for me, it humbled me so much to where it's like, you know what you can do, but who cares? It's like I'm comfortable with everything. I got nothing to go out and be macho and show things of, you know what I mean? Also, I'm a chubby kid, so everything I could have done back then, I can only do to an extent.
Yeah. That's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I love jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it is. Have you thought about doing it again?
I am
or
trying.
Getting the kids into it?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I told the wife about it. Like the biggest thing, because I have 2 girls, the biggest thing I wanted for them is to know grappling. So if they're ever in a situation, even if they're smaller, it may matter. The size may matter if you're going with someone who's of the same weight and knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But if you're just going against an average person who knows nothing, if a kid knows some grappling, some jiu-jitsu, maybe wrestling, judo, things like that, to where you know how to manipulate your weight, you know your mm-hmm. center of balance, things like that, that will get you out of a lot of trouble to where you don't necessarily need to sit there and fight someone like mm-hmm. Jean-Claude Van Damme, but you can negate the situation, get out of there. Right? So I wanted them to do that in either boxing or kickboxing. I more or less wanted kickboxing because I wanted them to be able to throw hands and kicks at the same time. It doesn't need to be anything as beautiful as like a taekwondo kick or like some karate stuff, but I wanted them to just have those as bases for more self-defense. But my oldest, she likes to dance. She likes to sing and dance. I was like, you should, gymnastics, they make me cringe now only because I blew out my knees and I've sprained my ankles like once a year since I've been in 9th grade. It's annoying. But I told her she should be in ballet, and I was like, yeah, ballet is awesome. Those people are strong. like Like, there is no shame to be in a ballerina, honey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to fight and dance.
Mhm.
And if she'd be dangerous as shit if she
Mhm.
could do those. Yeah, for sure. I just remember starting off in jiu-jitsu when a 115-pound woman would beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realize it's like you're giving your kid a weapon.
Yeah.
Literally, these skills are weapons, and they're gonna pay off for them. It's cool because, you know, I'm not gonna walk around with a gun all day. I don't give a shit to do that. I'm not even that type of person.
Ditto.
Most of the violence that's gonna happen to you is gonna be one-on-one with probably somebody you already know, but that's important to have, though, to know that you have that skill set. Or even if it's one of those things where it's like you made somebody upset and they wanted to like be aggressive with you, and then they quickly realize by what you do, they by just touching you, they quickly realize like, oh shit, I shouldn't do this, and then they back off. Because that's the same thing. Like, if for some reason, like, I'm not gonna fight a dude who knows jujitsu,
Right.
in real life. I'm not. If I know he knows jujitsu, or if for some reason, like, I felt like because I didn't understand, but it's like it's a language of touch. And if I could like tell that this guy knows what he's doing, like, shit, I'm out. I mean, gotta fuck around.
Yeah. You could tell, like, same thing we could, you know. You can tell when you roll with someone that they have some knowledge of what they're doing, and you can tell very quickly to the degree that they do. Because even being a wrestler and doing okay, you know, you could tell when someone's toying with you, and it's the worst feeling.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I'm pretty much in here with a shark, and I'm lucky if I make it out. I am glad this guy is a friend.
Yeah.
Because if not, like, if he doesn't let go, I'm dead.
Yeah. Yesterday morning I got back from jiu-jitsu. I got a hit on the head. It felt good. I like it. I'm proud of my bruises, but
Technically, I should have been able to be a blue belt, but I didn't go to the thing to, like, it was after I blew out my knees, and my buddy Charles, who now he recently got promoted to a black belt, but, like, he took a break because I think he was trying to become a doctor. So anyway, he wanted, it was with Marcelo Alonso's that organization, and he was in town gonna do like a seminar and probably belt promotions, things like that. And Charles is like, it's okay if you come and you're hurt, and just come and do that so you can get your blue belt. And I just didn't go.
yeah.
So technically I could be a blue belt, but it's okay.
Hey, I'm a no-gi guy.
I like no-gi.
That's all. I'm a no-gi for life.
I hated that so much because the one time I actually put a gi on, it was only one day that I did it. I hated it because this one dude kept doing that thing where it's choked in the collar.
Yeah,
I'm like,
the lapel
you need
chokes.
to. I'm like, you need to stop because I'm like just like right there and like guard and just have the hands on the shoulders, and he's doing all the wizardry that people do. I'm like, no, knock it off. Like,
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. Stop.
Yeah.
It's like you can feel it coming before it's happening, and you're like, this is bad.
Well, what's good about your kids being the ages they are, I think they can start at 6. I don't know, but if you want, because I was doing it for a bit, but you can have your kids, because the kids class is always before the adults class, so the kids roll, and then they're all tired, and then they just go in the little back mat room and play on their phones.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're loud and ruckusy.
Yeah.
It's whatever. And then the adults do their thing.
I used to, and that's what I used to do. I would do both. Like, I would do the kids' jiu-jitsu class, and then I would do, like, the adults. And the kids thing, it was just good just to go through the warm-ups, and, you know, they could work on their technique. And then I would roll with my buddy Charles, like, in between as the kids were rolling. So it's like, and he was a higher belt, so it's like you get to roll with people who are even better. So, yeah. like technique, man. I mean, I think it's kind of like advertising everything too. It's people forget, you need to hone the technique before just trying to sit there and spar and grind. Like take that skill building portion serious, because that's where you get the muscle memory. And it's not so much like your muscles, it's more like the mental muscle memory. So when you're there and you have the same feeling, you just go right and do it.
Yeah, that's true. I found I do that myself, because yesterday I was the only guy in no gi. They're all in gi. I thought it was like kind of like a anything goes day, because it was early and it was like something they were starting up. But either way, I was rolling with these guys in the gi.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just going to be fair. I'm not even going to touch their fucking gi. I'm not even going to use it as an anchor point, like grab their pants or anything. But I started just doing all my guard passing that I practice with no gi, and that is just superior in the gi, because I know it works. Mm-hmm. I know that it passes the slime guard and all that crap. And like the way I do, I just staple down the knees.
Yeah.
I just staple it down and then pass through and then.
Yeah, I don't know why. Every time a lot of the people that I grappled with that were fighting amateur, that they had some grappling, I always had the easy thing of being able to go from like guard to like getting a leg over at least one side. Yeah. And then like I'd quickly be able to get in and then get over to get into mount. Mostly I think because of the flexibility, so I could be flat out and still get my knee up and over. So it's like I don't need to make this big step. I'll just slide it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's beautiful about it is there's numerous ways to pass the guard. And as I learn more, I realize fucking regular fold guard sucks. Like it's not. It burns so much energy out of you, the guard player, and the guard. And the guy in the guard's like, okay, I'll try to get out. It's hard to get out of it unless you know certain ways to get out of full guard. But yeah, it's just not as an efficient guard as like open guard.
Is that like butterfly, or like where you have your leg on like their inside of their hip?
Oh, butterfly guard's pretty decent, but open guard is you're just open.
Oh, okay.
Like, because you have 4 points to create a bigger frame from your back to stop them in a 180-degree direction.
Okay.
As opposed to when they're already in your full guard, like, I mean, they're already closed that distance.
Yeah.
And you can do submissions from open guard, too. And yeah, I don't know. It depends on how you want to play it. The more I think about it, the more I'd rather just do open guard. And open guard is, But now I've just been finding myself this last year. The only thing I've been doing is just been a lazy bitch, and been sliming myself into shitty situations, just shitty positions, just to get out of them.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten better at it. I've found some cool ways to wiggle out of some pretty nasty chokeholds.
Yeah.
That people have gotten me into. Had to die like 1,000 times to learn these tricks.
Right.
But though I learned that skill, I've become acclimatized to allowing people to just put me in those shitty situations, and that's not good.
Bad habits.
Yeah, that's a bad habit. But then again, there's kind of like a really cool, like a self-defeating thing. If like this person has tried every way they can to submit you, or you try every way you can to submit them, and you just can't do it, and they're just like a blob ball that you can't just touch.
Yeah, that's where you.
That's where it's like, fuck, I can't beat this dude. And then you're wearing yourself out, and then it's like, I'm gonna wear myself out, and then he's gonna attack.
It's almost like they try to take a counter punching role, but in their jujitsu, where it's like, I'm gonna like lay and pray, and I'm not gonna do anything until you move. And I'm like, no,
True.
fine. I'm just gonna sit back. That's fine if that's what you want to do. You need to move because I'm not playing your game. But then it's like you just take your little victories. Like, oh, okay, I got my knee over, or I got my leg over one of the leg. Okay, we're making progress. I haven't got you yet, but at least we're making progress.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You nailed it. You
Yep.
nailed that. Because a lot of it, I'm just blobbing, and he's a blob.
Yeah.
And then at least the higher belts, the white belts, they're like stiff.
Have you ever found yourself trying to do things that are not like textbook, but they somehow work? So, example, I was rolling with my buddy Eugene once, and he left his neck wide open, but I was over the top and I was in guard, but I was enough over to where I just took the blade of my forearm and like shoved it there, put my hand underneath, and just like put my elbow to the floor, and it was enough to where he's like, that sucked.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
We went over that choke yesterday, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think of it, but yeah, you got the blade, you got half a carotid, and if you get it tight, you can get him to tap.
It basically, that's exactly what it was. Almost like you're trying to do a triangle, but it was just with one hand, and at the time I was very strong, so I'm like, okay, grab the one hand and just push my elbow to the floor.
Yeah, one time I tapped a guy, not an advanced guy.
I wouldn't get that on an advanced dude. They would laugh.
Yeah, no, to me, when I roll with people, I tell them it's all about the moves I could almost pull off.
Yeah.
I almost pulled that shit off.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't work though. And maybe next time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like golf. I don't know.
Well,
but yeah.
So I've done a few jiu-jitsu tournaments, and one of them, Misha Tate, was actually there.
No shit.
Yeah, and I
watched her beat the shit out of dudes.
She won her bracket,
Mm-hmm.
and she was going up against dudes. But her and her boyfriend at the time, Brian Caraway, were there. So which was kind of cool because I didn't know they knew one of my coaches, but they did. And so, but they were watching some of my matches that I had, and it was pretty cool. So in that one, I subbed a few guys in that one, and then I ended up losing one of the matches because the guy was just big,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately it was near the end of what the time would have been, and I just got tired. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
like let's just finish this because I'm out of air. It was I don't know how long the rounds were, but it would have just been like 2-3 minutes, something like that, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you're like going hard. It's basically like a sprint the whole time,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, I haven't competed in any tournaments.
Oh, you should. They're fun.
I've been to a few, and they do look fun.
Yeah.
And I like the way how they're organized. I have just burnt the fuck out from wrestling.
Oh,
dude,
okay.
I've my whole wrestling career, like middle school on up. Just continuous on the road every weekend, sacrificing hunting to go to this little fucking podunk town of Sunnyside to go wrestle a tournament. Then next weekend wrestle another tournament. And like your holiday weekends are just dedicated to going and doing wrestling.
I remember that first year that I wrestled, and it was like I was either 140 or 145. And it was a real culture shock because in order to make that weight, I feel like for 2-3 months I didn't eat. Mm-hmm. I know that's not true, but that's what it felt like. I felt like I didn't have a single sip of water or food for like 2 months. But it was like around Thanksgiving, and you got to make weight, and you got tournaments, and it's like I can't eat anything.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, and And I was like, I loathe that shit so much that I'm like, okay, if I do a tournament, I'm not going to cut weight.
Well, and
I'm just going to be who I am.
And I never did. For any of the tournaments I did, I never cut weight. One of them, I was trying to cut a little bit, but I forgot to cut weight, which is bad. And then so I put like a sauna suit on. I put my sweatshirts on. I turned the heat up on blast because I had to drive out to like Cedar Woolley to like go to do this thing.
Yeah, Cedar Woolley.
And I was like, okay, cool. Hopefully, while I'm in this
big tournament,
while I'm in this really hot car, I'm hoping I can sweat out a little bit. And I don't think it helped at all. And so, but they were cool. They just moved me up a bracket. So the people I was then going against were a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
Which played a big role.
No, like doing 152 to 160 is a massive thing.
Oh, it was in the 200 bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and those little changes in weight, 5 pounds, are big differences in
more than people realize.
Yeah, and the types of humans that. And what's cool now is when the
hydration stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. The hydration's a bitch because you're basically dehydrated.
Well, no, I was gonna say now, like when I was coaching wrestling for a little bit, they have a hydration policy. So at the beginning of the year, you go and you weigh in, and that's what determines the weight that you're allowed to wrestle for the year, I believe. Mm-hmm. But you have to be hydrated. So they test your hydration levels, things like that. So they're trying to make it, at least as far as I'm aware, and this was maybe 9-10 years ago when I did that, and it was all for safety of the kids, trying to make sure they're not overdoing it, because we even had people who were doing it. I know you did too, where they're basically killing themselves even at the high school, middle school level, and depending on how they do it, they might not do it very wise, and they cause a lot of harm if you don't know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, people die from bad weight cuts.
That's how you get hurt. That's how you get injured.
You're
straining, your tendons are going through different changes, and it's not natural. And then you're putting a bunch of pressure, and that's why I don't do that shit and no more. I was lucky that I didn't get hurt doing the stupid shit.
Well, and that's what a friend of mine said, is like they think the reason why my knee went out is because of all how dehydrated I was. Mm-hmm. Like the fluid that would surround them wasn't there. So.
Yes. Yeah, it's not yeah. So, but one thing I will say though, wrestling has fundamentally changed fundamentally as far as exploded in popularity since I was a kid. When I was a kid, like, because my boys, we started them off in little the little guy wrestling league here.
Okay.
And so every weekend, like right now, every weekend during this time of year, there is a tournament going on in one of these high schools, and it's a big tournament. But the wrestling programs are so amazing that you just pay money and you have all your kids in it.
Yeah.
And even the girls wrestle. And that has caught so much traction that now girls' high schools here in Washington have their own wrestling league. And these girls are fucking good.
They are very good.
Good girls.
So it was Mount Tahoma High School, who I coached for a few years, and then I was around a little bit. But like we had several wrestlers that were so good. One girl, we called her Gator. She was amazing. And then we had a couple of good boys too. And it was just like, yeah, man, the girls league has come so far that now they have their own. Because when I was wrestling high school, the girls, they would always have their own state, where they could go and do it. And I mean, no disrespect, but it was meant more of a participation trophy that they got to go do it. Because the pool of girls wasn't enough. Yeah. But, girls would be out there wrestling guys depending on the weight classes, because that's how it had to be. But now it's like you have separate leagues where you have enough weight classes so you have a full girls team and a full boys team. And it's Like it's cool. It's really
I
cool
think
to
it's
see.
Really
Heck
freaking
yeah.
awesome. And the thing is, it's a great feeder for the jiu-jitsu industry and the way these shapes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just great all around, like women's empowerment and all that shit.
I think it would be pretty cool, and I don't know the steps to make it happen, is if there was able to be like a jiu-jitsu league within the schools. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I
hope
that will happen. Well, you know what? You're starting to see changes in the number of jiu-jitsu gyms that are springing up in Spokane, because that's something I've monitored.
Yeah.
2, the big tech companies now have jiu-jitsu gyms. So people can roll jiu-jitsu. It's starting to become the new golf.
Which is fine.
Yeah. And that is cool. And I hope someday they do that. That maybe at the high school level.
Yeah.
I know that it pays big dividends when wrestling does in jiu-jitsu, because even when I go against these higher level guys, just stand up. Yeah. I'm like, oh shit, dude. Man, I got you on stand up. I got him on takedown and takedown defense, hands down. There's a lot. It makes you so much better. And though on the ground, you're gonna get murdered because you're a wrestler.
But it helps quite a bit.
Habits, but you get some. Yeah, it helps on things like that one key word that's yelled at any tournament more than anything. Half.
Yeah. Half. Yeah.
Just get that.
I'm guilty of that.
Because that freaking half. Nelson.
I mean, and when you coach and you see it, you're like, it's there. I mean, when you're out there, like, you don't know if it's there, but when you're looking at it backwards, you're like, it's there. But like, but then again, wrestling as a base for grappling and everything, wrestling would feed into judo. Wrestling feeds into jiu-jitsu. I mean, you have a base to where when you're standing up or when you're on the ground, that weight distribution, that balance, that awareness of when you're in like that top down situations where you know how your body needs to feel to move a certain way. It's, all those things. And then it's just, I mean, because grappling's grappling. It's really, to me, it's just about weight distribution and that's it. And movement and the techniques and stuff. But I mean, if you can understand weight and distribution and where you're at versus where they're at, there's a lot of times where you can get out of sticky situations just because they're a person, their weight is too far in a certain direction. And then if you know your weight and know how to like move, then you're good.
Yeah, that's true. My kids' first jiu-jitsu professor, Tim Sled, though I didn't train under him.
That name sounds familiar.
Oh, he's been around, man. I met him in Southern California. He had a gym. He started up there in Oceanside. That's where we first met him, and I had my boys go and train there. And he was a judge. He's a cool guy. Cool story. He's got schools all over. He's got a school in Jamaica. This is what he does. Is he builds schools. He was a criminal judge. And he quit when he's like, man, none of this shit is helping. It's really good, powerful story. And he talks about the whole armor of God and everything. And he's like, yeah, I'd go to these as the district attorney. At first he was the district attorney and then he became the judge. And so he's like, he was disinterested in his business because he would have to go out to being a district, because he'd have to go out to the car accident scenes. All the time.
Oh man, I've heard some horror stories of from paramedics of what they've seen. I'm like, I don't need to hear anymore. And I get why you need therapy.
Yeah, and then he was a criminal judge because he worked his way up from there. And he's like, the only thing that's gonna help these people is doing shit like jiu-jitsu. And he just dropped it all and started it all up. So yeah.
Well, and back to the point when I was talking about the fighting and the MMA stuff. after finishing that, you have, for me at least, the ego and all that stuff is gone, but it's like there is a peace of mind that, if a situation like that comes about, you should be okay. There's always going to be degrees of people out there. Even the best people in the UFC, I promise you, there are people probably within the military or people who have never done anything publicly but yet are just real monsters out there. I promise you they're out there. For every person, there's someone better. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's like, but the peace of mind knowing, like, okay, I can theoretically take care of myself. Mm-hmm. I will be fine.
Yeah.
And if I'm not, I'm not. But at least I feel confident that should it happen, I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is nice. It's like your body owning a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it, I was like, I'm really confident to get my ass beat. That's for sure.
Yep.
And that's the thing is over time, I'd look at people in the gym, like not the jiu-jitsu gym, but I was going to a normal gym.
Yeah.
And working out at the normal gym and doing jiu-jitsu. And I'd see the biggest dudes in the gym and I would think, I could tap that motherfucker. And that's the reality.
Well, and see, that was one of the ego things that I really like to do, because being a shorter guy, and right now I'm not as stocky as I used to be, but being a smaller, short, people would often not think I was as strong as I was. But so that was my favorite thing to do, is very much an ego short man thing. Mm-hmm. Is I would go with like the 230 plus pound dudes, just so I could show them like I was as strong, like, okay, I mean, they got size, and realistically it probably would not have gone well for me, but I'm like, okay, I can hang with you guys. My favorite thing to do was when leading up to my fight, LA Fitness, they had, the kickboxing bags, although they tell you not to kick them, but they let me, so that's fine. And I don't know, somehow I broke one, but anyway, so you'd be in there, I'd be doing my rounds on there. There'd be no one in that little portion. I'd have my music on. I would just sit, hit bags and do things like that, And you would get people who would come in and they would put it on the gym supplied gloves, and then you would see how they would hit on the bags and things like that. And you're just like, okay, like, and it's not me trying to tear them down, but I'm like, I could take you.
Yeah.
Because they would start hitting while I was kind of like in between my rest. You'd hit on the bag for 3 minutes. Take I would always do 3 minutes and then a 30-second rest, just because that was the way boxing coach always kind of had us do it. Because if you have a 1 minute rest in a round and you're used to recovering in 30 seconds, that extra 30 seconds you're gonna feel like brand new, right? So, but yeah, I'd be in my rest time in the restaurant, and the people they get in, they start hitting, they're doing their thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm not paying attention really, because that's fine, like, you do you, we're good. Then I would start doing my thing on the bag, and then, which looked a little bit cleaner, not like a pro, but cleaner than what they were doing, and there was a certain pop to it. And then they would walk out, they're like, okay. Like, I don't know, it's funny, like, I have no ego. I'm pretty, you've obviously met me and interacted with me. I'm not at all. But like, yeah, it was fun. That was a fun time.
Well, thinking about like if you had the feeling of helplessness though, when you don't know nothing.
Yeah. And
you're like, shit, I am relying upon a gun and knowing how to use a gun or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and I experienced that. I didn't realize. My first interaction with jiu-jitsu was in the Marines, because that was
like combatives.
Yeah, so the Marine Corps martial arts program. So I'm a black belt in that, which is not. I'm a black belt. It goes tan, gray, green, brown, black.
Okay.
All right. And in that, that doesn't mean really a whole lot. It means I've just gone through all the motions.
Still cool
And
to be able to
there's
say.
6 levels
Okay.
above that. But the Marine Corps is the only branch of the military that has its own martial arts program.
Specific to it.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
with a belt system.
Oh, okay.
The Navy doesn't. The Navy SEALs don't have nothing. The Army doesn't have. They have combatives, but they don't have a martial arts program
Gotcha.
that you have to sustain on. You have to reach a certain belt for promotion.
Okay.
Yeah. So like all sergeants have to be a green belt. So what does that mean? What does that mean? So let's talk about the origins of the Marine Corps martial arts program. It's kind of cool. I like the way, and all the Marines like the idea of it. The thing is, you gotta sustain to be good.
Like you can't get lazy with it.
Yeah, you gotta sustain. I mean, but either way, there's gives and takes about any sort of thing. But what it is a bunch of people before they started it. They said a bunch of Marines of various martial arts backgrounds, all high level in their own way, but they're in the Marine Corps. They sit down and they're like, look, the headquarters, they want us to make a martial arts program. They want it to be practical and legit.
Mm-hmm.
And incorporate our rifle and bayonet fighting. Because the Marines are the only ones that sustain and train rifle and bayonet fighting. The Army gave that up.
I could see why, because like my dad was a Marine. I never did. But you know, thinking of that thought of the tip of the spear, like, you know, that bayonet, like maybe you need that when you're trying to storm a beach or something. Like you know, you meet opposition and things like that. I don't know, in my head, that's where I go to.
Well, you see it
like
in
you're
Ukraine
in a dogfight.
in Russia.
Yeah,
in trench warfare, because they do trench warfare,
yeah,
which is brutal. But what I like about it is like all these guys came around, the jiu-jitsu guys, the Muay Thai guys, the Krav Maga guy, all these guys, and they're like, all right, this is what we're going to do.
That's cool.
Like your first tan belt is all basics of rifle, bayonet fighting, and Muay Thai.
Okay. Kickboxing, essentially.
Yeah, basically Muay Thai. Gray belt is jiu-jitsu.
Gotcha.
Green belt is jiu-jitsu and weapons of opportunity.
Okay, like
And
knives and things of that
rifle.
nature.
Yeah, but I mean throughout it,
Like
all
environmental.
you're getting little bits and pieces.
Gotcha.
Like you're gonna get in tan belt, you're gonna get like a little bit of knife, just
Okay.
like how to strike.
Close quarter
Like
stuff.
simple shit, but basic, like simple shit. And then, but it's mostly like rifle manipulation and Muay Thai and just bugle sticks. And so, and they're like, hey, the Marine Corps preserves the rifle and bayonet and weapon of opportunity fighting that was passed down. Like this is not like incorporated from some other martial art. This is tried and true on the islands against the Japanese.
Yeah.
So, and you can watch the old Marine Corps martial arts, the old Marine Corps, their rifle bayonet shit, like, it was way more dynamic too. What they did with their rifle and bayonet fighting, because they did a lot of that shit. Mm-hmm. And, but either way, that's been passed down. That's sustained and preserved. So, and that doesn't go away in every level of belt. And by the time you reach up to black belt, then you're able to do multiple opponent fighting with a bayonet.
Gotcha.
Like how to engage multiple opponents. And honestly, it's as simple as just line them up and knock them down. So you like line them all up if you're fighting multiple people at the same time, even if you don't have a weapon. Get them all lined up in a row, get to that angle, and just run through and just run and punch through each one.
It's funny, and it is from an anime. It's called Rurouni Kenshin, and a person was trying to understand how to fight multiple people. And one of the methods that the person said that was a tried and true thing is first run. And he's like, so basically the fastest of the group chasing you will get up to you. You fight that person off. Then, okay, they're done. Then you run more. And so it's like basically exactly what you're saying. Either you line them up or you try to get into a situation where you somehow can get each of them one-on-one in some type of scenario, or you go to a narrow path.
Yeah, that is a way you could egress and do it that way, with sort of like the Apocalypto movie way, or just line them up and charge. So by the first one, Tori, the fastest one, well, you took him out first, and then you go charge at the second one.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the third, if he saw that you took out the first two, he might just be running.
I mean, that sounds like that Jack Reacher movie where he's like, I'm going to beat you two up and he's going to leave. They always leave, or something like that. And it's like he beats the crap out of two people. And the dude, he's like, yeah, I'm gone. Like, I mean, think about it. If you sit there and you see one guy take out a few of your buddies and you're the last one left, you're like, I ain't win this one. And I really don't feel like being all bruised up. So I'm just going to go home.
Yeah. And that's true. And another thing I really like about the Marine Corps martial art MCMAP, as they call it, is, I mean, they slay the fuck out of you too. Like each one, there's always a slay session. But they throw in some judo throws, like the hip toss and whatnot, and basic arm throw. And I mean, there's like some things through it all. But let's see here. I think the rifle fighting is of the coolest shit that I learned, because, and what's important about it is, as the modern day weapon systems change on the battlefield, like as the rifle changes, it may not change so much in shape, but it will change in these small little intricacies. And these things, the way to fight with a rifle, like continually without dropping it, even on the ground, is a really interesting subject to study. And they are the only ones that are studying it. Yeah. So, which is sad, because the Army kind of gave up, and it's like, oh, we'll just turn a blind eye to we'll just forget the fact that, oh, you can take the muzzle and like spear somebody in the sternum and drop them. Yeah. Which is fucking useful.
I would think so in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody grabs your rifle, like, what do? How do you fight that? Mm-hmm. And that's a real life legit fucking thing. Mm-hmm. Because in Iraq, there will be some fucking dumb motherfucker who wants to get stupid and he grabs your rifle, or Afghanistan, like that happens, and they grab the rifle and they're fighting with the soldiers, and then the soldiers are like, oh, what do we do? A Marine knows what the fuck to do instantly. Mm-hmm. It's like, and then whack them. These are like subtle differences that make a huge difference in a professional fighting force. Yeah, that separates the two. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, it's cool. McMap. Yeah. Yeah. So, what have you got? What have you got planned coming up?
So right now we are trying to finish up our January. December 10th is our deadlines for the book. I think around the 15th is our deadline for the wraps that the books come into. And then after that, we're working on February. So as far as the next few mailings, in my mind, my mind's working on finishing January, February, March. Those are the next three that I'm really thinking about. So February, March is a good time because we got a different kind of winter going on this year. It's a little bit warmer. We're not seeing as much snow. We might see a little bit more. So if there's a lot of home improvement businesses, typically I'll see them, or I would encourage them to start advertising in February, because you figure March might still be winter, but by April we're coming out of it. April, May, June, July. So home improvement businesses, I would encourage doing something now in February, January and February. I would, because you have tax season, tax return season. People are going to have money in their pockets. They're going to be either paying off bills and now planning a new purchase. That's how me and my wife used to do it for many years, is we would make a big credit-based purchase. We would do our thing throughout the year, make payments, then pay it all off when we got our tax return. So you may have other people who are doing that. So long story short is my thought process is, one, for tax season, why February I think would be really good on a lot of home improvement. But two, if you're thinking about seasonality with things, is if the buying season may begin in March and April, it would be much better to be seen a month prior. So like you're saying, flipping through the book, whether you use it or not, you're top of mind. So these ABC places are now on your mind. So I would much rather, and think it'd be a better idea, to position myself early and then throughout, rather than right on time, where you never know. They might have already selected who they wanted. They may have already purchased from them, but the work isn't going to start till then. And you're already behind the 8 ball. It's like, a thought that comes to mind is like thinking of a surfer, right? You want to get set to ride the wave. You don't want to, you can't ride it when it's happening, or it's a lot harder to try to get in there. You got to ride, you got to be there ready to ride it, not at the end. So that's how I would think of it right now, is if you're a home improvement based business, the February one we have coming up, I would get in on that. If you're a painter, you'd want to talk about interior, exterior, because in February, now we don't have any of the holidays, so people might be more likely to do an interior job than they were. They don't have all their Christmas decorations up. Everything's put away. And then exterior, you can have people early bird signups. Hey, get signed up now before, you could position yourself as top of the line, because it's like, hey, we will be booked up this year. So, hey, our quality is exclusive. So come to us. There's exclusivity to get to us before the season. You may, and then if you're a food place, you think of a restaurant where, what is something everyone does on Valentine's Day? They're all going out to eat and things like that. Some may not do it on Valentine's Day, but they might say, hey, I'm going to take my lady out, or me and my guy are going to go out on this week. What are some good places to eat? You can pick up people during that time. And sorry, but I just think food, home improvement for sure. Tax businesses, tax prep. I did a Google search trying to, lead scraping, where I don't have any programs. I just do it on my own. Just write them on a notepad or in an Excel sheet. But so there's a lot of them in Spokane. There's a lot of, like the HR Blocks, the Jackson Hewitts, there's that. But there's also, and I would encourage people to do it too, see if there's a local boy that you can use, local guy or gal that you can use, just because it helps them, And so tax preppers, accountants, I would hit up your accountants, because depending on how your season went, tax accountants may want to get in and be visible, because now the people, they saw how bad their year went, good or bad. They might say, hey, I want a better year. So now it's time to ride the wave of people wanting to make a change for this year, to monitor things. So this 2024's tax season is better,
Wonder if it'd be cheaper to I would imagine like Liberty Tax, because I see those dudes standing out there dressed like the Statue of Liberty on the road.
I've asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called a few people, and they're like, "Oh, that's all handled out of Florida." And then I asked the question, as would it be possible for me to, for you to share either an email or something, so I can reach out and see if it would be in their wheelhouse, if it's something they would like. Oh, well, no, we can't do that. And you try to, in that instance, it's like just trying to talk to people. Like, look, I don't want their social security number. I'm not out here to steal all these secrets. I'm just out here to share information. If it works, then it only serves to help you, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I see them out all the time. You see the Lady Liberties out, and those guys near the end of the season, they look bummed because they've been out there working it for a while.
Well, I think like what's their return on hiring a person?
I don't know.
To stand out there versus what you could do.
I will say this. There was one, like where we used to live, there was this Little Caesars guy. He was outside in front of there. He would flip and twirl and dance around with that thing. He got me to buy some pizzas many a times. I'm like, that dude's entertaining. I'm getting a pizza.
Oh, dude, pizza's a great freaking industry.
Well, yeah, in itself, but I'm just talking about the dude out there with the sign. Like, you did a good job with that sign. I'm getting some pizza.
Oh yeah. Hey, the road dancer and sign people.
Yeah,
it's a bigger deal in Southern California
than
it is here in Washington because weather but it gets you because they sit there and they flip the sign, and some people are good at it and they're like artists.
He was good.
Yeah, and if you're in that buying mood, of course,
like
you get that smell.
He was good. It looked natural. He had his headphones on, just jamming out. Me and my wife, we'd be like, man, he's making the most of that job. Like, you know what? I'm getting a pizza. Mm-hmm. Like, okay. But those guys with the signs, believe it or not, man, that is the biggest part of my job is just that education. It's just trying to introduce, I talk to, so we offer like big postcards, right? Mm-hmm. They get inserted at the most, not expensive, but it's based on quantity. So if you buy 20,000 copies of something, it's 24 cents out the door. Plus, I think 150 for artwork. If you're doing a solo postcard, it's maybe, 60 cents. And, talking to a business and saying, they didn't want to be in the book because they want to be in a postcard. I'm like, okay, well, we do that. You could do that. Oh, I got a guy who does that. I'm like, well, okay. I know the guy who does it isn't going to be doing them for the same price that we offer. Oh, I don't want to get an argument. And it's like, there is no argument because I know what pricing you're paying. And it would still be more. So my whole thing is like, look, whether you do anything with us or not, whether you say, hey, I hate your face and I don't ever want to talk to you again, just know the numbers and stuff. Like, like if you're already doing this, man, if you could, okay. So like Mainstream Electric, that wasn't the company, but say they're a big company. They might mail out 100,000 copies. If they're doing 100,000 copies of a postcard, they're paying for printing, they're paying for postage, and if they were to do it with us, they could cut that cost in half. So you could save 10 grand on a job that you're already doing with a local company that already has the infrastructure and is going to the exact same homes in the exact same markets that you want to hit.
And there's more to it than just that. Like, there's all those other side steps. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, well, how do you just do that? Do you just dump them all off? How do you put all those addresses on it? How do you go to the post office and coordinate this stuff? These are all questions that you're already solving because you have a streamlined system. Yeah. And all you got to do is just say $2,700.
I mean, yeah.
Spokane Valley, the Spokane area.
And even if the 2,700, even if you don't need the whole area, there's 6 areas. So like Spokane Valley, if a person were to sign up and do 4 months, it would be $450 a mailing to hit like 50-some thousand homes. I mean, if you can isolate and saturate your community to that level, I mean, why not? I mean, you can still do your social media, you can still do your other things, but add something else in that hits the other side of the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like if you had a business like a taxidermist, I mean, shit, that's a high demand trade. Like, especially now because deer season, I got a deer on the smoker. But
I thought that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been smoking deer jerky, so
nice.
Got lucky this year. So if you had a taxidermist and they get a butcher, freaking butchers, dude, butcher.
Been trying on those.
Well, the thing is, I think butchers are always swamped.
You know what?
It's such a high demand trade. But I'm like, if you're a taxidermist who's just starting out and you need all those initial leads to sustain you, I think that would be a great idea, because right now, one of the ways taxidermists advertise is they go to Sportsman's and they drop off one of the mounts that somebody didn't pay him for. So that's how they're advertising. That's how Sportsmen get their rack.
Oh,
Their racks. And like a lot of those places, like Cabela's, it's taxidermists who they're advertising. They're like, well, we need your rack. We'll advertise you. Give that little plaque there.
Yeah.
And that shows who you are, because if you look at them, it shows who the artists are. But yeah, those are people who somebody didn't pay them, and so they're like, put it up there. Because I mean, they have no shortage of big elk racks and shit.
Yeah.
And they have no shortage of animals, especially if they're a good taxidermist. And if they're not known, though.
Yeah.
If they went to you and did that, then that's going to definitely blow their phone up, especially on an in-demand trade like that. And just by doing it once, that will then generate enough repeat customers if people liked you.
I tend to recommend people do things in threes. So, I mean, one and done could work, but like, say again, like the example of like home improvement, February and whatnot. Like if the hunting season starts whenever it does, if they were to advertise a month prior and then during it, like even if they did two separate mailings, it's like, hey, we catch all the people before and then we catch all the people during who like, hey, they want to make a trophy out of some of these things. So it's just that timing, but yeah, but it's like I did a post the other day. I think maybe it was in my head. I don't know, where it was talking about different types of advertising where you have free, which is just posting on Facebook or dropping things off at a store, cold calls. That's all free relatively, but then you have the paid versions where it is basically like what a sales force does, if you think about it, where you're advertising, you're paying for a lead list, and that's what it is. It's kind of a list of leads. You don't get the list, but we're sending it out to a lot of potential leads, and it's an accelerant for awareness, for branding, people being introduced to you that you could not have reached on your own at that scale.
Yeah.
Because that organic growth takes time, but once it's there, it is very good. So it's like, yeah, if I could spend $500 and reach 50,000 people, and they're within an area that I have said I need, that's pretty good. And if you set the ad up right, where you have a good proper hook that creates engagement to where they call you, maybe you got to give a percentage of your profit off to make that sale. But I mean, you can accelerate your growth process if you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
Cool. So where is the wise shopper trying to move? What direction?
Don't know.
Maybe not move at all.
Don't know yet.
Maybe just sustain.
I mean, the generic statement I would give you is wherever God takes it. In the center of every book, and the real reason why we got it all started was in the center of every book there's a little bit of scripture, a little Bible scripture,
cool.
A positive message, and then it always says, find a Bible believing church around you, or however you want to do it, to each his own. But it just, the reason we even got started was it was God giving us the opportunity to be able to spread his word to as many homes as we could. And at the time, I remember it was like, hey, this goes out of business, hey, at least for a few months we were able to plant some seeds, do what we were asked to do. So the cheeky response is wherever God takes it. I think there are dreams of going into other markets. Tri-Cities would be kind of cool.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It doesn't necessarily need to start going national. I mean, it could. Because, straight up, we have a very unique thing in this, whether I'm attached to it or not. That type of book, that type of setup where a print ad, a direct mail print ad, or just print in general, reaches that type of monthly, consistent distribution, there are very few markets, if any, and any is a big statement, but there are very few markets that have access to that would kill for it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's what I think. I think it's just maybe like people don't consider it enough.
I think
they overlook the little book that they find in the mail.
Well, think of the meta. Think of changes. Whenever a new meta comes out, you have a lot of people who think that they forget everything that came prior. Everything that came prior still works.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you still see people calling people on the phone. That's why you still see email campaigns. That's why you still see direct mail postcards. That's why you still see commercials, on these streaming services. Before it was, kind of like in radio, you still see that around. The reason they're still around is because they're effective. If they were absolutely worthless, it would catch on and people wouldn't do it. You would still see good people who are good salesmen at the craft of selling, where they know how to manipulate a conversation, which is something I am grateful I don't have and never want. I never want it, but that's a side thing. But yeah, these things all work. And I think people have forgotten because they're young, or maybe they grew up, didn't know it, or they're of a certain age that they forgot. But no, if you're a business and you don't have a solid print vehicle, you need to look for one and get one going, because like I said earlier, if it's two sides of the same coin, for everyone who is doing digital, there's a side of that coin who's only doing print. For everyone who's doing who doesn't like digital, they get most of their resources from, say, TV commercials or YouTube ads, TikTok. There's always going to be a place to reach your market. You want to, and as a business, you want to be able to position yourself to have a 100% reach, though you don't like that name, on that word.
Distribution?
You want to be able to capture the attention, the 100% of the attention of your total market. Is how I see it.
You're a mailbox marketing distribution system.
Yeah. That's what we do.
That's what I think I would use to sell it, because
that's what I've said for years.
Mailbox marketing distribution system?
Mailbox marketing distribution system. No, I have not used that. Okay.
I've used that because I think, because I hear you saying like digital, print, and it's like putting the wrong ideas in my head. But when it's like, what do? Mailbox marketing.
Yeah.
Distribution. We distribute mailbox marketing.
Well, I think part of my
then that makes people think, well, how would I do that? How would I send out a bunch of mailers? Well, I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work. I know there's like Excel things. I've seen that stuff. No, that's tough to do. I don't want to learn that. But it gets them thinking. Okay, in that idea. That's my thoughts.
Well, and pretty much no. I think that when I start saying print a lot, it's because of the B&I groups, because you can only have one of a particular type of business in, and so mine is print advertising. So I've been kind of altering what I say, but no, it's direct mail advertising. But that's another rabbit hole a person can go down. But it's
direct mail advertising.
There you
go. You freaking got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Shit. So, how do these BNI groups work? So there's only one person allowed to say that they're from a particular industry?
That's how they work. So let's say you may have two businesses in there that offer. I'll try to use a very roundabout scenario that has nothing to do with anyone that I know of, but can kind of work. So let's say you have two businesses that offer like financial services, but they also have like life insurance or other things attached, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of those businesses can do their weekly commercials and their presentations on the financial, and one has to do it on the life insurance. However, when you get to your one-on-ones, when you're sitting and networking, I can tell you everything I do. I'm not going to, but I think it's a means to be able to include many businesses, and it actually works out really well if you think about it, because you can develop what's called like power partners. So like in our group, we have a gal who works in advertising, marketing, but she's more on the digital, the media side of things. That's perfect for me because she may offer that, but she may have customers or people that she comes across that she knows exactly what I do and the value of it that she can send my way. So it's perfectly fine. Or you can have, different types of businesses that can actually feed and complement. And, the whole idea is to be able to have different kind of exclusivity because you're paying for it. You pay to be and have a membership. And the long and short of it, that's their structure. So I just work within it, but it's like, I will say this. If a business is out there and they are looking to network, I would get in a BNI group if you could. It has helped me. It has helped my growth in terms of like these type of conversations where I would a year ago and months ago when you tried to get me to do this, I was like, nope. But now I'm open to it and happy because I've had scenarios of public speaking, being up there talking, working through jitters, and you have a group of people that can help you either send referrals your way or you can use it as a testing ground for like a sales pitch and you can get real-time feedback, and it's like a safe space to be able to share your information, develop relationships that can be turned into friendships and things like that. So there's a lot to it, but yeah, there's one of every type of business and I went all the way in the deep end.
Okay, so I've been trying to figure out the benefits of these BNI groups because, and so you have explained it. The first time it was on my radar was Stephen Hicks talking about it. So,
yeah.
So these are these clubs that you pay money to and you get together. How often do you get together and like, what do you do?
So for ours, well, it's once a week. You meet once a week. You go in the mornings. Members, you can have visitors, but visitors can come to 2 meetings before they have to put in an application. You stand up. You go around the room. Each person there. It starts with members. They give a 1-minute presentation. 1 minute. They call it a commercial. So think about your elevator pitch. You stand up. You talk about things. You can either give like a sales pitch, or you can talk about like some of the like what I'm planning on doing tomorrow is talking about one of the Facebook posts, but just condensing it. You should
talk about this podcast.
Oh,
my God.
I will talk about your podcast. I promise.
Of course. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I I promise you within a few minutes of me leaving, you will see just finished podcast with Data Mind Mike.
Yay!
And I'll be like, hey, be on the lookout for it. Absolutely. But yeah, so you stand around the room, you give a 1-minute presentation, you do all that whoop-de-woo. Then you have 2 people go up and do a 10-minute presentation, a little bit longer form thing. And then you go around the room, people give testimonials on like, hey, I think Deborah's amazing. She gave me a referral. I really like her. We don't have Deborah, so that works out in my favor. There might be a Deborah that wants to join, and I encourage you to. But
Okay.
Long story short, that's the format, and then you leave. And this year, I'm a part of the leadership team where I'm a visitor host. So when people come in, I think it's my job to like say hi and try to talk to you and ask you make you feel welcome. Not that I wouldn't do that anyway, but I for a long time I considered myself more of an introvert, even though I'm like one-on-one conversations, that's when I become more outgoing. But again, the BNI group has helped me to be more outgoing in bigger groups.
Well, good, as long as you have used it as a transformational experience. That's good.
I think if you look at if you could measure it, if you were to go back to around February of last year and look at how posting and things, interactions within, the networking groups looked and how I carried myself on social media, to now, I would say there is a direct correlation between my time in the BNI, my time in the mastermind group, and then those two groups I would say have had the biggest, have had contributed the most to my growth. And a few people recommending books, because like that Go Giver book is dope. Like if you want a book about the idea of it's more about giving than taking. And if you can get that down as a mindset of giving without worrying about receiving, it does happen.
Yeah, that's important. It made me think of a quote. Benjamin Franklin once said, "The best the investments in yourself pay the best interest."
Yeah.
And that's good. You're investing in yourself. You're leaving your comfort zone. You're going to these groups. You're doing public speaking. You're practicing who you are, what you are, what you have to offer through your verbiage, finding what words work better in the flow that you have to present it, and the way that you present your whole song and dance is going to matter how much business you get.
Well, yeah, and honestly, my biggest selling point when this was presented to me, to come over here, I prayed and all those things. The way I saw it was I tend to be a pretty logical thinking person. I like to look at the numbers. I like to see how things could play out because that's how I budget and everything like that, I'm like, okay. I like the idea of the wise shopper as just an outside person looking in, because it's a vehicle that a little company, a small company, could be able to go to, your favorite word, a small company can use to reach a large volume of people, equivalent to what like a Nike could. Like I see it. You love that word. I'm going to do it forever. I'll never be invited back, but that's fine. But no, so I'm like, okay, it's something that someone needs, can use. It would have a real genuine impact on their business, and it's affordable, and you don't have to worry about algorithms. You don't have to worry. Do people throw them away? Sure. The same people who throw them away might be the same statistical people who skip a YouTube ad, who swipe a TikTok video that they don't like. Maybe they don't like your face, whatever it is. Or a TV commercial that they pause. Like my dad, he'll pause, wait till it's over, then he'll fast forward. He's like, I don't want to watch commercials. Okay. Same argument. People throw ours away. People skip your ads too. They do the same thing. Doesn't matter the platform, right? So, but it's a means for people to do things in an affordable way. They can skip algorithms. They're going to the same people within the same community that their Facebook ads are going to. If we're going to X amount of homes, the same demographic that you're reaching, the same geographical region that you're picking we're going to all of that. And because it's such a high volume in a distribution, I'm sorry, the argument of that just doesn't work it cannot apply to ours. There is nothing and there's a little bit of maybe ego, but I believe it really to be true based on just looking at all things. I try to be very transparent and give everyone their flowers, so to speak, is like Inlander doesn't hit the same amount of numbers that we do.
No.
Monthly, they don't. And
they don't get they have nowhere near.
So, and a little bit, no, they don't. And they may go out weekly, so the overall potential distribution may sound like it's high. But here's the thing with the Inlander and the exchange that is not really talked about. And I get it, because why would you? But a lot of that distribution, they say they go out weekly, I believe, and it's to like 50, they have 50,000 copies. That all those copies are not in the Spokane, Idaho limits. They say the majority are, but they, wise don't disclose. So if they have 50,000 copies, some of that goes out into, like, I think Moses Lake, Tri-Cities, some other areas around, even in Montana, I think a little bit, or a little bit lower in Idaho. So if the majority of your distribution is 30,000 every week, at most that's 120,000 potential. But it's still only 30,000 at a time. And if it's the same 30,000, then you have, like I was saying earlier, 100% of what you're reaching is 30,000 people. If you never reach anyone else, if it's the same 30,000, that's all you're reaching. I mean, so it's like their distribution's not as high. The ads are not as impactful based on what I've talked to people. But it's not me trying to say anything on Inlander. Inlander has its place. It is still a vehicle that can be used, so I wouldn't tear it down. But if you're just looking at the sheer numbers, and everywhere that we touch, and the fact that we don't need to be picked up in a store to be looked at, we're going to get into the hands of who we say we will. If a company likes the idea of print advertising, they can use our direct mail distribution to reach way more people than they would in any other outlet. And I'm here to tell you, if you want, you could do a postcard on your own, but the postage cost alone to reach what we do is probably in the 60,000 mark.
Damn.
And just imagine that, 60,000 on postage, and you could reach all those homes for $2,700.
Yeah, that's the selling point right there.
Correct.
Like, do you know how much it would cost in postage to send to everybody in Spokane? No, that sounds like a good YouTube video.
And that's just on postage. Now add in all the printing and paper costs. It's nutty. Now, if you can get that same distribution for $2,700, even if you had to do it all year, and it was, 30,000 more than that, you're still less overall for the whole year than if you did it all on your own. Mm-hmm. The overall cost that if you were to do it on your own might take you 3 years, would cover 3 years of advertising to all areas in our books. Now, those are maybe not completely accurate numbers. I'm fair to say, hey, it would be two years worth of advertising, but why not? And if you figure if you were to do one area, say if it's only relevant for a business that, like if you're a restaurant, you could advertise all over, but let's hit your local market. So 450 times 12, it's like I think you're in the 5,000 mark or a little bit more. If you could advertise to your direct local market of people all year for that amount, do you think you can make your money back? And $5,000 is not that much for a whole year ad spend.
Well, I just think about how inefficient these political campaigns are being ran locally, because I see them on both sides, and that's one thing I do is I try to keep my ear to the ground on that stuff. But they are getting teams of volunteers to try to do this, and exactly what you're doing, and it is probably costing them, and that's where their donation money goes to, is to
Yeah.
Exactly that. Spamming the roads and mailers and whatever the hell else they have to do.
There was back during, I think maybe last year's election, he was running for sheriff, like Wade Nelson. I was able to get on the phone with him, and I was, obviously he didn't need the ads for that long, but I was, try to offer that within the Spokane area. So for him, it might have been under $2,000 to hit everything, but it's like, hey, if you could do that, if you could hit like 200,000 homes or 180 to 200,000 homes regularly in the district or whatever that you need to hit, this county, everyone that you are going and doing these conventions for to see, you would be hitting. And oftentimes, and you please correct me if I'm wrong, is I don't know what a percentage of people go to these rallies, but I would think, for me, a lot of times, if I didn't know I gotta backtrack. But long story short, it's how many people can you get that might just have picked voted for him just because they saw the name. Like, hey, this is a name I recognize. I'll go with this guy. Unfortunately, that's how some things go. But I mean, that's That's advertising. Like
the ballot is almost a joke. I almost filmed it of me well, I don't like their name.
Yeah.
I don't like his name. And like they have no impression on me other than what I knew a Carol once. Well, she was a bitch. I'm not going to vote for her.
Yeah.
I'd rather vote for Stacy. That sounds hotter.
When I voted during when Trump was in, that was the election I voted on because I didn't like Hillary because she's evil. But that neither here nor there. If you like her for whatever reason, okay. But so that was the one that I voted on, and I'll be honest, he's about the only person I knew. I knew some people that for Washington, but it's like you go down the line, it's like I don't know who all these people are or what they represent or what they're about, and that's a topic for another day of just being educated on who is running for political offices, because these are the people who are creating policies that you either like or dislike. And it's like, to use a Bible verse, if I could, it's the devil will present himself as an angel of light. So just word to the wise, pay attention to who you're voting for, which is literally me being a hypocrite because I didn't, but I'm just saying in general, I would pay attention to who you're looking for, because you may be inviting the devil for dinner and you not know it.
Yeah. Well, the politicians could definitely, if they even considered using the wise shopper, would probably get more. No, you ask how many people go to these rallies? Maybe 250, maybe 300. And depends.
So,
and that's both sides.
And these politicians, they're doing radio ads, they're doing TV.
Yeah,
and
Facebook, all that shit.
It's like the idea of like land, air, and sea, like cover all of your bases. And if you're wise with it, use some of your funding for that to where you could then, it doesn't have to be the same generic ad. It could be, hey, what are my talking points for February? And because they go in cycles, like the media, they're going to push certain things. They're going to be talking about certain things. Well, what do I know that is going to be talked about a lot during this month? Well, ABC things. So my ad's going to be tailored around my responses towards that. So at least I show people that I'm out there and this is my at least initial stance, and then we can go from there. But it's a conversation starter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They could be doing that. And dang, yeah, you made me think of a few things. And
I mean, I know for a little bit we got away from the political stuff.
Oh, that's okay.
And no, I mean in terms of in the Wise Shopper, we had gotten away from it. But I don't know how often the elections and stuff are going on. I know they're kicking up again because you're starting to see the signs and things.
Well, we just had an election. The Spokane mayor, Nadine Woodard, lost to Lisa Brown.
Oh.
So,
Again,
see.
when we're talking about names, neither of those names are familiar to me.
Oh, see? And see?
That's my point.
That is the point.
And then now think about that and think about how a business is. That same thing me saying is how people are when I come to them and I'm like, I mean, no disrespect, but like, I've never heard of you.
Yeah, and it wasn't for me meeting Nadine Woodard. I would have never known her name.
Yeah.
Like, personally, I wouldn't, like, who gives a fuck about the mayor of Spokane? But, I mean, I guess if you had some serious initiative or something you wanted to push and yeah, you know, people don't think about what they don't think about. And
you don't know what you don't know.
And some of these damn marketers are really rooted in, like, what they have specifically learned.
Like their specialization.
Yeah, and yeah, they're very resistant to change or new ideas or even overwhelming data when they're presented with it.
Yeah.
And that's, marketing is a lot of charlatans because it's a lot. If it was a straight sign, if they understood it and they thought about it, they would probably utilize these things more. I guess so these digital marketers, what are some of these things that, not necessarily that you do, but what are the things that they say that you should do?
As far as on the digital side?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I don't talk enough to those people to like hear what they say you should do. I guess with the example early on with the one individual, you know, it was talking about producing videos, then, you know, chopping them up for like shorts and things like that. So you could have a long form and then you could have a short form, which I think short form works for my taste better than a long form. Because if I could see a few short form videos that are from a longer video, then I might say, okay, well, these videos have created enough value for me to then say, I want to see the full version because these are all really good points. I want to see everything as they were said within context, what led up to them, things like that. That's where I found it's a channel called The Future, and they're designers, but they provide a lot of value in terms of talking about, you know, business and things about how to carry yourself, how to conduct yourself, pricing and things to charge, how, you know, so those things are good. So I have not had many pure talks with people on the digital side of things, hearing the things that they are talking about with other people to, you know, sell them. But I have thought very much lately in terms of on the digital side of things, because I've been fortunate to meet some pretty cool people and become friends with people that do that. And, you know, with us being with the Y Shopper, I guess now we have a little bit of a partnership with like the wood shop. So we do digital as well. So with that needing to, and also I was working with a little bit with Tyler at Patriots Marketing. So, and then Lindsay Berry and things like that. So being kind of like the go-giver thing, wanting to learn and understand things. So to go back to the original thing. So I've done a lot more research into those digital things myself on where they would work. So what I've come to understand with people is, I would say, if we're talking about building a house for like a business and a company to get everything working, you know, like the land, air, sea kind of thing, it's going to start in this day and age. You need to have a good website that a person can navigate without much trouble. It doesn't need to be big and fancy, but it needs to be easy to use. You know, because if on the consumer side of things, if it's clunky, if it's hard to use, you'll probably lose business, or you could potentially lose business. Maybe they end up calling you, but you could lose business based on just, okay, this is too complicated, I'm gonna go to something different, and they'll go to and you lose them because it was too complicated. So, as a pillar, I would make sure I have a good or a solid website that at least, make sure that the person doing it has some understanding on the keywords and things. So at least out the door, you have a shot, right, on that side of things. You need to also have a solid social media presence. Whether it's, I keep hearing people talk about PR, but whether it's just people getting used to you organically, like a direct mail guy I know, posting things frequently about, information and value, that type of stuff, where whether it's paid or unpaid, you need to have a presence on there that is, I think less about raw looking for a sale and more about, essentially you marketing who you are as a person and sprinkling in the other things. So you need a solid website, you need some social media, and then you, in my opinion, find or allocate resources to, and I didn't include it, but if you want to do video, if you're comfortable doing video or just audio things, and I was planning to do a little video on the lifetime sales and the customer acquisition, because I think that's something that could be good to do on like a whiteboard, go a little bit more in depth, because same thing with print. For everyone who maybe likes to read, maybe there's a section of people who prefers to either watch it or to just listen to it like a podcast, like you were talking about earlier. So have your website, have your Facebook going pretty good, Instagram, whatever, figure out where your market would be in the social media platforms, because maybe Pinterest is where your market is. Maybe Instagram is where your market is because of the type of business you have. So just be in all of them, figure that out, whether you pay someone to do it or not. Paying is like adding gasoline on a fire. It's accelerating the process, because much like, there's some things on a car I could fix, but I'm going to go to a mechanic because I know it'll be done right, and it'll be done quickly. So it's the convenience of quality and time that you get back. So have those things going, have some video, some media, some audio, just something so you could communicate to your audience completely communicate with your audience. And then if you're a local company where, like, say, again, thinking like Nike, they're national, international. They're not necessarily needing to worry about specific markets. They probably do, because they're looking at their overall data and numbers, and it's like, hey, this market's weak. How do we increase it? So, like, again, using Spokane as a thing, find a printing outlet that works for you, or a unique method that hits your local market. Like, again, our Y Shopper, because of the sheer volume of homes out the door that we reach, that's a number that you can't argue could be effective if done right. And then it's not so much like, oh, it doesn't work. It's like, no, it works. We just need to figure out the right messaging, the right time. Maybe you don't need to run all year, but maybe you need 3 months out of the year, and the rest you can sprinkle in things as they're needed. But so long story short, I think I went way off on that, but have a solid Google, have a solid social media, do some kind of like video or audio, and then have a good print. If you can do all those, and you might not need to spend money in all those areas, maybe you, on your print ad, maybe have your social media links so it can feed your social media. On your print ad, you can have your website. So you will see a good ad will show an uptick in your Google too, because, hey, people get their ad, then they're going to Google it. So it's going to work together.
That's a good point.
It is. And
increases their page ranking.
Oftentimes people don't think about it. And if you have
digital assets.
Yeah. And if you have a QR code, if you have a phone number, you can track all those things. it is crazy how it can all, the circle of life, man, it can all work together. It just, people need to be a little bit less set in their ways and understand that meta's okay, but you don't got to reinvent the wheel. You just need to know how it works.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think you nailed some good points. Such as people got to think, one, does my product or service, people don't think about businesses, all right? Mm-hmm. They think, yeah, well, this is what I learned, the value of going to business school, getting a business degree. Like, need blinds. All right, blinds.
Factory rep blinds. And I will say something really quick on that. Gary is an amazing person. The owner of that, really good dude. I would support him whether or not he was a customer of mine.
Well, he is wise.
Yep.
Because he has decided to advertise in your Wise Shopper now. Because he understands the cycle of his business. And my dad, who is a retired principal now cabinet maker, understands that no one's buying cabinets this time of year.
Nope.
No one's going to do shit until after taxes, all right? And what happens is once October hits, my dad basically shuts down. He's like, I'm done working for the year. It's hunting season. And he goes hunting until tax returns. And he's probably got some side projects here and there. He's got some kitchens, but but once the tax returns hit, because everybody's sitting in their homes right now, they had guests over after the holidays and the shit, and they're like, my blinds look cheap.
Exactly. It's winter. You're inside. You're looking.
Yeah, and all these people saw my blinds and they thought my blinds looked cheap. Okay, cool. Of that, how many of these people that disseminated to is this applicable to? Well, probably not anybody in an apartment. Most likely a homeowner.
Yep.
Of these homeowners, but so what if it's not applicable to apartment? Liberty Foe's applicable to me, and I live in an apartment. But you see, it's always applicable in some way.
And you never know. Maybe a guest comes over, they flip through it, and they're like, "Oh, that'd be cool." Or you may be aware of it, and you're over at someone's house, and for whatever reason, they're talking about it. You're like, "Hey, I got something in the mail. Did you get this?" No. Okay, well, let me give it to you because it was on blinds. It's something you could use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people are sitting in their homes this time of year. So if you're a cabinet maker, blind person, things on the inside, interior finish work.
Correct.
This is the time of year to advertise before you get swamped by the calls.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, absolutely. And that's the point of like understanding sometimes too. Advertising sometimes can feel a lot like the ant and the grasshopper, where you're storing up awareness for the winter, but you're storing it up so when your busy season really kicks off, you've already put in all that effort to secure all that attention and put the ball in your court, So like what you're saying, like with blinds and things like that, like, you hit them during that season, or like if you're a roofer or home improvement, if you start advertising and might not feel good in terms of the returns on those particular months, but what you'll see happen is I start getting attention in January. Maybe I get an early sign up, maybe yes, maybe no, but they're thinking about me. I go out in February, I'm closer to my buying season, so maybe I actually call and try to get something going, or I inquire about it. I get the conversation going. And then when March, April rolls around, they're like, okay, now I'm ready to buy. And I've seen this person nonstop over the last few months. I don't need to Google another place or all of your competition that you're fighting for attention with on Facebook. You're in a different vehicle that your competition isn't in. So they see you on Facebook and they see you in the mailbox. So you have 2 touch points that you're reaching these people on.
And for example, the Salvation Army here, Spokane, Salvation Army. How many years have they been going through you?
I think the last 3.
This is why. So obviously a charity, the Salvation Army, that relies mostly on donations and the guys with the buckets, obviously see the Wise Shopper as a wise investment, that they've been doing it the last 3 years. So they're seeing some sort of return.
The majority of the people that I have that are under me, I have around 35, 40 regular customers, and they've been with me for at least 3 years. The majority of them have been, some have been with me for at least 2.
Well, we are running on 3 hours now. Time flies when you have fun. So, first off, what podcasts you listen to and or books you want to recommend?
I listen to the Bible a lot, but as far as books, I would recommend Alex Hormozy's book, 2 books, $100 million leads, and I think the other one's $100 million sales. But if you look up the dude's name, you will find them. I also like the Go Giver book. I would recommend the book As Man Thinketh.
That's a good one.
That's a really good book, which actually has a lot of biblical principles within, which is pretty good as well. But I would recommend those. Pretty much any books that you could find on sales, on understanding. Well, actually, sales and business. Like if you're in the sales and business world, look up those books. Like we were talking about earlier, podcast, things that are resources for you to learn things that you didn't have time to go to school for, and you need to catch up. It's the accelerant that gets you there. And as far as podcasts, I don't really listen to a bunch of podcasts. I like listening here and there on Spotify. I like listening to I like scientific ones. I like things about history, things like that.
Okay.
I'll watch a lot of Minecraft videos. I'm all up. I'm into that stuff. I like watching people build things.
Yeah. Minecraft videos. So that's what I'll have playing. So I was thinking about that during the 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have like something playing.
Yeah.
I'll do maybe some race cars and some Minecraft. So
Yeah.
that'll be going in the elk rack.
There you go.
While people maybe do encourage viewership. I don't know. It's a new thing I'm trying, which is fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost me nothing to try.
None.
Okay, so where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook. You can just type in Geremy Kniffin, and one of 3 pages will show up. Either my personal one or the 2 business ones that are probably going to get changed to different names in 60 days. We'll see. But they can find me there. If they go to the Inland Northwest WiseShopper.com website, if they are wanting more information or just want to have a conversation, they can reach out through there. Just say, hey, you want to talk to either Jeremy, Jim, or Max. Max is our Idaho-based sales rep. So if you're an Idaho-based business and you only do business there, reach out to Max. I'd be happy to facilitate the conversation, but I'd like to see Max get some more people sent his way. I handle Spokane, and I'll do a little bit of Idaho. Pretty much if a business if they do business in Spokane and Idaho, I'll talk to them. But I mean, at this point, I kind of talk to everyone. But that ADD, I tell you. But so they can find me on Facebook, Geremy Kniffin, or they can reach out to our website, inlandnorthwestwiseshopper.com. If you want to talk to me directly, just ask for Jeremy when you fill out the form, and I will know to reach out to you. And the Facebook and those, they have my phone number. So If you want to email me or call me, you can do it through there. And if you're anyone within the business group, I guarantee you'll see a post or something here and there in the next few days. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere. Just say hi to me if you see me walking your business, because it gets depressing sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't be after this.
Hopefully not.
I think they should. Be sure to check out all of Jeremy's information in the video description below. Remember that sharing is caring. Subscribing is what winners do, but smashing the bell is what legends do. And this channel breeds legends. But take it easy, guys. That was Geremy Kniffin.
Kniffin.
I know, with the K, though. I like, because it's got the K.
I mean, it's out there in the pod space.
Yep. Geremy Kniffin. All right, guys. Geremy Kniffin, I know. All right, be sure to check him out. Bye.